opener as the Rattlers of Florida A&M get prepared to take on the Hornets of Delaware State. We're at Bragg Stadium for prime time football. Bragg Stadium on the campus of Florida A&M in Tallahassee, Florida is where we are for our college football primetime. Two MEAC schools, the Hornets of Delaware State coming in to take on the Rattlers of Florida A&M. Hello, everyone. I'm Charlie Neal, and welcome to Tallahassee as the Rattlers usher in the Reuben Carter football era. Reuben Carter becomes the 14th head coach in the history of the Rattler football program. More importantly, though, is the fact that Reuben Carter didn't get named head coach of the Rattlers until the middle of July, meaning he had literally 3 weeks to prepare before camp opened up. But if you know anything about the work ethic of Reuben Carter, everything's going to be all right in Rattler land. Let me bring in my partner, Charles Arbuckle. And Charles, Reuben Carter comes in as the 14th head coach, but he did not step in to an ideal situation.
You said Rattler. That's the nickname here at the school, Charlie. But the thing with these Rattlers and what Reuben Carter, they like him a lot, and they think he's a guy that can bring them some stability. That's what they need here in Rattler land. That's what he's trying to bring to them. From his vast experience in the pros and in college, he's outstanding in that department.
On the other side of the ledger, Al Levan in his second year as the head coach at Delaware State started off 0-4, finished the season strong 4-3, and he'd like to continue to build on how he finished last year.
Mental toughness is one of the things that he wants his guys to have, but he also wants them to have the mindset of how to win. They haven't had that here. They beat Hampton last year, and that was their Super Bowl. But he wants every game to be a big game for them starting tonight.
All right, 23rd time these two teams have met. Florida A&M has won the last 10, and we'll be back with the opening kickoff from Bragg Stadium in Tallahassee in just a moment. Back at Bragg Stadium in Tallahassee, Florida, Charlie Neal along with Charles Arbuckle as this MEAC season opener for both of these squads about to take place. The Hornets from Delaware State coming down from Dover, Delaware to take on the Rattlers of Florida A&M. A nice night for football here in Tallahassee for September, Charles. 88 degrees. The wind is 5 to 10 miles per hour. No chance of rain.
You still see the fans waving out there, but it doesn't really matter. 88 degrees is 88 degrees. However, normally this time of year, as you said, it can be tough.
Yeah, you look at Al Levan in his second year as the head coach of the Rattlers, I should say of the Hornets of Delaware State. He was 18 years as an NFL assistant coach, which included a championship with Dallas Cowboys. He also coached with the San Francisco 49ers.
Vast experience, understands how to win, wants these guys to get the feeling of what it feels like to win on a consistent basis and not expect to lose, but expect to win.
And on the other side, there's a man who wreaked havoc on a lot of offenses when he played in the NFL. 12 years with the Denver Broncos. He was an All-American at the University of Miami, and he was last year assistant coach at Temple University, a team that the Florida A&M Rattlers played during the regular season.
Well, Reuben Carter understands the MEAC, but he also understands football, and that's the one thing. Miami University of Miami, All-American. He's just one of those guys that understands how to play this game of football and wants these guys here at FAMU to get that same feeling and understanding.
And the Rattlers will get the ball first to usher in the Reuben Carter era. He's no stranger, as you said, to the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference, having been an assistant coach at Howard University and Delaware State in the white jerseys. As we look at it, ready to kick off, Peter Gartner will kick it down to Roosevelt Kaiser, who fields it in the end zone about 3 yards deep. He's going to bring it up. Kaiser trying to get to the corner, turns the corner, and is up across the 20 and still on his feet and finally knocked out of bounds. They said he stepped out right at the 19, actually. Unfortunately, he had a little more running room than we thought originally. So at their own 19-yard line.
Well, what you look at is with a guy like Roosevelt Kaiser, you say, no, almost like a three-point shooter. But once he decides to go, you know he has enough speed. If he can get around that corner, which he was able to do, good blocking, able to get around that wave, almost breaking that for a bigger gain than what it was.
So at their own 19-yard line is where the Rattlers will go to work, first down and 10. Their quarterback is Albert Chester. He's a sophomore from Jacksonville, Florida, out of Episcopal High School. The setback behind him, number 30, is Richard Pompey, a senior from Godby High here in the city of Tallahassee. First down and 10. Three wide receivers to the left side. Here's the pitch to Pompey. Trying to go left. Cuts it back inside. Not a lot of running room for him that time as he was hit immediately. I believe it was Sam Smith, number 6, who made the stop defensively. Here's the offense. Rashard Pompey in the backfield along with Paul Sharp. The receivers are Willie Hayward, Roosevelt Kaiser, and a phenomenal young man by the name of Ronald Wright, a sophomore. Here's the offensive line with McIntosh, the center. The guards are Terrell Baldwin and Leonard Black as we start to the right side this time. Running the ball. Trying to keep it going, number 11. And that's Craig Swain. And let's look at this defense for the Hornets of Delaware State. 3 down linemen, Jason Taylor, along with Larry Lawrence and Chad Ellis. So the ends, the linebackers, Derek Singleton, Kenny Kern, he's a good one. Kenwan Miller and Sam Smith. Smith is a combination defensive back, outside linebacker. Here's the defensive backs in Rubottom, Robinson, Jamel Trott, and Blake Saunders. It is 3rd down. We'll call it 9 from the 20-yard line. And we get a whistle, maybe delay of game. I believe the play clock ran out on the Rattlers. Chuck Williams is our referee. We did not hear him.
Well, Charlie, you look at it right away. You're getting a 3rd and long situation. You don't want to have your young quarterback in this situation. He has to have better management of what they're doing with the clock. You can see they're running a lot of people in and out. He has to have time to really get up there and make a decision. And that Delaware State defense is giving him some looks that he probably hadn't seen in practice.
From the 15, it'll be 3rd and 14. Blitz being shown defensively by Del State, but they back out of it. Here's the long throw by Chester. It's intercepted at the 30-yard line. Coming up with the INT for the defense of Delaware State.
Ryan Robinson.
Ryan Robinson out of Newark, Delaware from Christian High.
Well, what happens is Albert Chester sees his receiver open. He thinks he has an open receiver, Cardan Alexander. But Ryan Robinson, playing a 2-deep zone, just stays behind him. And as soon as he sees the ball thrown, he cuts underneath. The receiver doesn't know he's there, should have the presence to know I need to cut this route off. But Albert Chester throws into a bad situation.
So the Delaware State Hornets get the ball in great field position right at the 29-yard line, make it the 28 of FAMU. And their quarterback is Rashawn Winton. You see him there. And he hands off. And not much running room there for Manuel Mack, who really got popped there. Or was that Roy? Roy, number 23. Rodney Roy really got popped. And you look at the rest of the backfield with Roy. Adam Shrewsbury is the fullback. McBride, Savage, and Garver are the receivers. The offensive line, Nick Richmond in the middle, Jeremy Breath, Travis Pierce are the guards, and the tackles are Reynolds and David Jones. It is 2nd and 11 after the loss of 1. And here's a little pitchback pass to McBride, and McBride is tackled immediately on the far sideline. As we look at the defense of the Rattlers of Florida A&M with St. Felix and Brown, the front men, along with the ends, Carlos Roll, along with Finney, the linebackers of Brandy Wilder and Darius Fountain, and the secondary, Keith Williams, Sam Doty, Ernest Williams, and Dorian Gibson.
Reuben Carter told us yesterday, I want my defense to run to the football. And right away, we've seen 2 plays of negative yardage. On both plays, the defense running to the football. Darius Fountain was coming back there so fast. If he had been able to hit the person that had the ball, it would have taken him and the ball gone.
Here's the pass out of the flat. It goes to Roy. Roy tripped up by number 26 there, and that is O'Brien Brandy, and it's going to bring up a 4th and 10. They get back to the original line of scrimmage. That was a 3rd and 12 play punting situation.
And you see right away, Charlie, how fast this Florida A&M defense is, and you're going to see they're going for a field goal.
No, not a field goal. It's going to be not a punt, but a field goal attempt, and this will be by Gertner out of Berlin, Germany. Went to Pima Community College in Arizona last year. His longest was a 36-yarder, and that was against Howard University. This one will come from the 35-yard line. It'll be a 45-yard attempt. The kick is up. It is long enough, and it is good. So a 45-yard field goal gives Delaware State The lead, 11:04 remaining in the first quarter here in Tallahassee. Delaware State ahead 3-0 on a field goal. 45-yard field goal has given the Hornets a 3-0 lead over the Rattlers here in Tallahassee in the first quarter. And don't forget, UTEP against New Mexico State tonight at 10:30 Eastern time right here on the U. Stay with us as Delaware State Hornets get ready to kick it off for the second time this evening. Roosevelt Kaiser will be the lone deep man for the Rattlers of Florida A&M to receive the kick. Partner with the long kick. It'll be Kaiser, a yard deep into the end zone. Comes out with it. Kaiser makes a little juke and tips it to the 26, and we get a flag. That was thrown by the back judge, Greg Yett. He threw that from about 40, 50 yards away. He should play quarterback.
Yeah, he should.
Let's throw it to the studio and Mike Hall.
All right, Charlie, we got an update for you going on in Georgia.
And we get the penalty as clipping on the return by the Rattlers of Florida A&M. 10:57 the time remaining here in the first quarter. And the Rattlers' first two plays or possessions shooting themselves in the foot. Now the ball's all the way back to the 13.
Well, this is the kind of thing that you can't have. And I know when you're trying to build an organization and get them to understand, Reuben Carter's only been here a few weeks. He's trying to do everything he can as quickly as he can. But there's still going to be some things in this first game you're going to see that they have to improve on.
There's no question about that on first down and 10 from their own 13-yard line. Here's the draw play. To the running back Pompey, and Pompey struggles to get up to the 14-yard line. That was a hard 1 yard, wasn't it?
And that's the one thing about it. They want to get Pompey involved, and I think the fans, you can even sense, they want to see the ball aired out. But you have a young quarterback that if he doesn't have his confidence and throws another interception or another couple of interceptions, he struggled against this Florida A&M defense, and you can tell why. Pompey needs to get those 90 yards or more in order to take the pressure off for Albert Chester.
Chester working out of the shotgun this time. Pompey out of the lineup, and Paul Sharp, 32, is in. He's on a wing to the left side from the shotgun on 2nd and 8. And now we get a whistle, maybe a movement up front.
That play wasn't going to work at all. Sharp was in disagreement with the other slot back, wasn't sure where to go. And whenever that happens, you know generally it's not going to work. The play isn't. And Sharp is explaining that to Albert Chester right now. Sharp, a cousin of Shannon and Sterling Sharp. But you look at Richard Kuntz move, Sharp goes back, and that's just the inconsistency. Right now you're having plays, negative plays. We talked about it with Reuben Carter yesterday. They have to have positive plays.
It is 2nd down and 13 now after the false start. Move the ball back. Now they go back to the conventional I-back formation on the offensive side. Here's a deep handoff to Pompey. Pompey slips one tackle, but doesn't get away from number 76, Larry Lawrence. Let's go to the studio and Mike Hall. Mike?
Plenty of updates for you. 28-all Colorado and Colorado State. A 48-yard game-winning field goal. Money. 4 seconds left on the clock. That was Mason Crosby, who's now the most popular man in Boulder. Game over. Colorado wins.
Thanks, Mike. 3rd down and 10 here in Tallahassee. The Rattlers of Florida A&M trailing 3-0. Al Chester, the quarterback, calling signals on 3rd and long. He's back to throw it. The last time he threw it, it was an interception. He's in trouble. He will not get away from Sam Smith, number 6.
Sam Smith,
he's all over the place.
He makes it tough for you. He does, because they give him the freedom to move around like Troy Polamalu at the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's a tough word to get out, but I'm going to use it. Sam Smith is easier. However, what he does is he moves in different gaps, and then he's allowed freedom in this defense, and they game plan for that. So the other team, Florida A&M, hasn't seen a defense like this, and they haven't seen Delaware State, so it makes it tough for them to pick that up.
First punt was dropped by Wesley Taylor, but he gets off a pretty decent one. But it takes a Delaware State bounce, and they'll get to good field position again, this time at the 38. They started their last drive at the 28. They came away with a field goal. This one will be at the 38 when we come back. Time here on ESPNU at Bragg Memorial Stadium. I'm Charlie Neal along with Charles Arbuckle. where it's a 3-0 ball game in favor of the Hornets of Delaware State, and they have the ball first down and 10 at the 38-yard line of Florida A&M. And here's the Roy off the left side. Roy with the first down, breaks the tackle, and still running and knocked out of bounds finally at around the 20-yard line. They're going to mark it at about the 22 or 23, but about a 15-yard run for Mr. Roy. Let's go to the studio and Mike Hall for an update on Southern Cal.
That's right, the #1 team in the land visiting Hawaii. Colt Brennan back to pass, and he gets picked on by getting picked off. Darnell Bing, eventually, it's either going to snap it. There he gets picked off, taking it to the house, Steve.
Hey, I tell you what, USC was #1 in the nation last year. Forced turnovers 38. They're starting off where they finished last year.
7-0, USC leads early, back to Tallahassee.
All right, thank you, Mike. Trip to Hawaii does you good sometime, doesn't it?
Especially for USC, I guess.
Right, a yard gain that time by Mr. Roy, is running very hard. That's his 3rd carry of the ball game. He's asked 14 yards. It'll be 2nd and 9.
Very similar to the other side. Albert Chester needing a running game. Rodney Roy, on the other hand, is given Vashon Winton an opportunity by running the football. That's going to take some pressure off. You didn't get many yards there, but if you can get in the 3rd and shorter distance, it'll allow #2 a better opportunity to complete passes.
And it's 2nd down and 9 right now. Roy lines up real deep, a deep handoff, and now we got a whistle stopping play. But when you talk about Mr. Roy, you know, he was the 2nd year on the team. He started a little bit in 04, but he transferred from a community college. Listen to Chuck Williams.
Snap. False start. Number 64, offense. 5 yards remain, 2nd down.
That's the right tackle, Mark Reynolds, who's called for offsides. As you look at Al Levan. And I'm starting to talk about Rodney Roy. He came in from a junior college a year ago. So that means he didn't have the benefit of spring ball. Coach Levan feels that the benefit of spring ball will help him tremendously this year, even though he came out of a junior college program.
It helps you gel. It helps you understand where your linemen are going to go. It helps you understand how your quarterback moves, his cadence. There's all kind of things that you learn when you work with guys every day.
2nd down and 14 after the 5-yard penalty. Winton back to throw it, looking deep, in and out of the hands of McBride. He may have been out of bounds anyhow had he held on.
Dorian Gibson got caught sleeping.
Sure did.
He was looking inside, and as a DB, you understand that you have to stay deeper than the deepest man. And all he has to do is stay back, and he allows himself to get sucked in. Shahir McBride, you know he's one of the best guys in the MEAC.
He was the Rookie of the Year a year ago in the MEAC. He had 3 100-yard games last year.
Couldn't quite get to the ball, but they expect Shahir McBride to do some outstanding things. That was a hookup right there that he and Vashon wouldn't want to have. You don't get those opportunities a lot, Charlie. So when you do, you have to capitalize.
46 receptions a year ago for McBride. It is 3rd and 14. Winton again, looking to go to the air under a little pressure. Gets it off. Now they're going to say there's no receiver in the area, but he was outside the tackle, so he's okay.
Good call. And that was a good move by him because he thought he could scramble. You can't outrun those guys when they're running downhill on you. He gets rid of the football right away. It was a good play by him, good heads-up play. Lante Finney was right there, thought he was going to have a sack.
So this will be a 48, or make that a 43-yard field goal attempt. He's already, that is Gartner, hit a 45-yarder. So let's see how he does on this one. The holder is the punter, Eric Contos. This one is up. It is long enough. Plenty of room, and it is good. So a pair of field goals by Mr. Gartner has given his team a 6-0 lead with 6:52 remaining here in the 1st quarter.
Charlie, it's hard enough to kick a 40-yard field goal, but 40-plus, he's kicked 2 of them right off the bat. But it also shows you what FAMU wants, not to give up the big play. Although Shahir McBride almost had that big touchdown, he didn't get it. And like I said, if you don't capitalize on those opportunities when you get a chance, that is what's going to set you back. Now, right away, FAMU, if they can come back in this drive and they score a touchdown, they're back in the ball game and they're ahead in the ball game.
Well, Friday night, Texas Class 5A Division I state champion Robert E. Lee High of Tyler and Ohio Division I titleist Colerain High from Cincinnati They'll meet in a battle of perennial powers with national bragging rights on the line. It's the McDonald's Ohio versus USA Challenge. It comes your way Friday night at 9 Eastern on ESPNU, and it is subject to blackout. For more information, just log on to ESPN.com. 6-0 our score here in Tallahassee between the Rattlers of Florida A&M and the Hornets of Delaware State. A pair of Gartner field goals. Gartner kicking well tonight. His longest a year ago was 36. He was 6 of 11. And now he's hit 2 40-plus field goals this evening. Kaiser at the goal line. He'll bring it out. Looking for somewhere to turn to. And he's brought down shy of the 15 at about the 13, 14-yard line. So again, for the third time today, Florida A&M starts deep in their own territory. Their third possession. They started their first one at their own 19, last time at their own 13, this time at their own 14.
The percentages are just terrible when you start that far back. If you have 90-yard drives, even 80-yard drives, once you get into better territory, Reuben Carter said, I want to play in field position, but that's not happening right now.
The Rattlers of Florida A&M celebrating their 100th year of college football this season, and they had the big Hall of Fame induction ceremonies here on campus last night. Right now from the shotgun, here's Chester rolling to the left. Looking, has a man wide open out in the middle of the field. He just couldn't see Ron Wright, who was all alone at the 50-yard line.
Everyone in the stands could, but Chester rolling could not turn back and throw against his body.
The trees of terror were up there in front of him with white jerseys on.
Ron Wright was running down the field wide open, and that's what he's trying to do. He tries to turn back around this way, and when he does, he has a guy cutting back across, and he wants to throw there, but you have those white jerseys cutting across. He could see Ronald Wright coming over, but with the pressure coming, it did not allow him to set up and throw that ball back across his body.
And Ron Wright lines up at the top of the screen. Kaiser at the bottom. From the shotgun, they play a lot of receivers. Aubrey Parrish was the man in motion. Here's a quick pitch to Kaiser. He's very quick. He picks up yards across the 17 to about the 18-yard line. So it's about a 4-yard gain. It'll be 3rd and 6, but there's a flag down.
Pay attention to details. It's not what's happening right now if this is against FAMU.
Chuck Williams, our referee, been busy so far.
But Charlie, I was going to definitely say this is the kind of thing they need to do here to get Albert Chester feeling more comfortable. Shorter throws, letting the receiver do something, and clearly it's on Florida A&M because they're talking to Sam Smith, the captain of the defense.
And this will be the 4th penalty against Florida A&M should this hold up.
Illegal formation. And that's just not paying attention to those small details. When you're in the film room or coaching sessions and you're listening to Bob Cole right there with the visor on, the offensive coordinator, or Reuben Carter right behind him, that's just not paying attention to the little things that the coaches are talking about all preseason, but also all this week.
So from the shotgun on 2nd and long, they'll call it 2nd and 15. A little room on the near side. Let's see how he turns this up, but not a lot of running room that time as he's hit very hard there by Gerard Wallace. Let's go to the studio, Mike Hall. All right, thank you very much. It's 3rd down and 12 right now here, Mike Hall. And from the shotgun, it's a passing situation for Albert Chester. He's only completed, well, he's only thrown one pass up to now, and that one's an interception. This one is incomplete on the far sideline. He was trying to get it to Aubrey Parrish, number 17 there. And there you see the defense. George Smith there. You're watching college football prime time here on the U. Delaware State and Florida A&M, a couple of MEAC teams doing it. Doing battle right here in Tallahassee. I'm Charlie Neal along with Charles Arbuckle, and the first punt of the game by the second punt, I should say, by the Rattlers of Florida A&M. Wesley Taylor. He had a 32-yarder his first time punting. And this one he hits pretty good. Drives the return man Rubottom all the way back, and it lands at the 29. So this will be a worse field position for Delaware State, but a great punt by that young man, Wesley Taylor, only his second punt as a collegian. Here's a timeout on the field. We're in Tallahassee. Delaware State leads this MEAC matchup as the offensive team gathered round on the bench for a little huddle with the coaches on the timeout. And here's Roy, or a little pitch to the left side. It wasn't Roy who got the call, but in the meantime, they give it off to big number 42 of the Hornets, and that is Rashad Coleman. Actually, he's a wide receiver. Second year as a wide receiver. He's a running back for 2 years before moving out to that wideout spot.
And he wanted to get back in the run game. But that was a nice setup because what they do is they just work out. You can see Delaware State likes to score points and they like to score them fast.
Well, they were
outscored.
This was last year, 104-29. They're already ahead of the game right now in this season, 6-0 ahead of their opponents. And here's Roy trying to bounce back inside, but didn't have much running room as he was hit down by Altariq Brown, the senior out of Palm Beach, Florida, number 95, who had 4 sacks a year ago. He also had some help from number 26 there, and that's for Brian O'Brandy.
That's a deceiving stat, though, because early on they were 0-4, and they were blown out of those games.
They certainly were.
So when you have that, and then when you start winning, they were holding opponents to better situations later in the season. So that was a whole thing of that 0-4, and then they win 4 out of their last 7.
Sure,
that's what put them on the roll.
Well, you know, they lost the first 4 games. You said 51-0, 26-23, 49-13, and 49-0. Yeah. So there you go. That tells you something right there. And those teams, 2 of those teams were ranked. UMass was 19th.
Number 2, offense, 5 yards, remains 3rd down.
It was delay of game. UMass was their first loss, 51-0, was ranked 19th in the nation at the time, and then they lost to Southern Illinois, 49-0, was ranked number 1 in the nation, 1AA at the time.
My point, stats can be misleading.
They certainly can. It is 3rd down and long yardage. 3rd and about 11. There's a little screen. Roy trying to get away from people, but he would not and could not get away from, again, Brandy came up to make the stop, number 26.
Well, the play takes a little while to develop. He wants to get it out, and Roy can't get going because there's so much pressure right there. He has to step over his own guys. Good movement. If you watch his feet, he's able to miss his own player in front of him, Travis Pierce, but not able to miss O'Brien Brandy.
So for the first time today, we'll see Eric Contos come on to punt it away for the Hornets of Delaware State. He was 7th in the conference in punting a year ago. In fact, he led all punters. He punted more than anybody in the conference last year, 63 times. Kaiser, the deep man, to return this kick, and it's a good one. It takes a bounce, and it goes out of bounds right at about the 17-yard line, and I got a flag late in the game.
Well, Charlie, they had one Florida A&M player run onto the field, and he ran off after the ball was snapped. Chris Daniels. I think he assumed that it was 10 men on the field. He runs on the field and it comes off, and the official right there is standing right there as he runs off. But they don't call it.
Now they call illegal use of hands or a holding on Florida A&M. But I would just well, let's see what they do.
It was interesting to see on all that development.
Well, they punted it away, and it's a post kick foul, so they won't get to kick it over or get any yardage from it. The penalty will be assessed from where the ball landed. So now Florida A&M is all the way back to the 8-yard line, their 4th possession. And they have a new quarterback in the lineup, and that is Chris Owens out of Thousand Oaks, California, number 12. He slips going back, throws, and has it complete, his first pass. Oh, and somehow it winds up out of his hands and is fumbled, and Delaware State has it at the 3. Delaware State comes up with it at the 3, and it was Jamel Trott who recovered it. Let's see this chain of events.
Derek Williams is the first one to touch it. The ball is knocked out of his hands. And what the Florida A&M guys are saying, that he was either down or he never had possession of the football.
Well, we don't have replay, and so we don't have to worry about that. Like you said, Derek Williams touched it first, and the referees are saying it is Delaware State ball, so the second turnover.
Good completion, and then as soon as he catches it, he is just crushed by Kenwan Miller. The ball comes free, and then Chris Owens has a chance to get to it. The lefty throws the ball there, and you see Kenwan Miller over the top, knocking the ball out. Now, when the big lineman get it, Chad Ellis, who's running down the field with it, he recovers it. It's knocked out. So you can see right there the ball pops out. Clearly he wasn't down, and Chad Ellis happens to be lucky to get it right there. The ball is knocked out of his hands, and then they eventually recover.
Here's Roy. Nowhere to run. A lot of orange and green stacking him up at the line of scrimmage. And they were making sure he wouldn't go far.
You know, you have to depend on your defense. And Charlie Huff, I mean, you've got to think that this is what's going to hurt him. This game could be farther out of reach than it is. Florida A&M 2 turnovers right away. Delaware State none, but only a 6-point lead. Now Florida A&M, if they can hold them to another field goal, that could be the thing that they need in order to get back into this ball game.
Second and goal from the 5. Here's Roy again. Roy cuts it back and is down at the 1. Or did he get in? No, what are they saying? Did he fumble the ball and it went into the end zone?
He fumbled it, went into the end zone, but the official runs right over and points down.
I thought he was down at the 2 or 1 yard line. He gained 3 yards on the play. Here's Greg Yett. Here's Reuben Carter. He wants something else. Reuben is a feisty young man. I'll tell you, they're going to love him down here in Tallahassee.
And clearly, Roy is trying to fight for extra yards. His knee is going to go down there. Then the ball comes out. So he's clearly down. He's just reaching for more yards.
He was trying to get the ball across, but his knee touched down before he stretched the ball out. It is 3rd and goal at the 2-yard line. Shrewsbury is the other fullback there, number 46. And here's play action. The quarterback throws in the back of the end zone. Incomplete. Great defensive play by the Rattlers. Number 31 coming up with it is Sammy Doughty. Doughty out of Columbus, Mississippi, who transferred in here. He was a preseason first-team all-conference selection.
You think of Sammy Doughty, you think of big hits, but you also see him here making a great play. Now, what happens is that's a nice block by Rodney Roy to allow the time. But Vashawn Winton throws that ball up high, and it allows just enough time for Sammy Doughty to get his hands in there. Nice play.
Postel was the intended receiver, and here's Gartner on to attempt his 3rd field goal of the day, his shortest attempt. This will be from 19 yards out. This one is up, and it is straight through the uprights, and it's 9-0 Delaware State. But 2 turnovers have led to 6 points for the Hornets of Delaware State, plus great field position, and they lead it 9-0 with 15 seconds left here in the first quarter.
Charlie, you and I both know you've been around football a long time. This score could be much greater than what it is, and now that they're having an opportunity, Florida A&M, they need to capitalize. They need to play. You can see Reuben Carter make plays. Let's do the things that are necessary.
Well, as we all know, the tragedy that took place down on the Gulf Coast of the United States, New Orleans, Biloxi, Gulfport, and all along parts of Alabama that were hit pretty hard. And if you would like to donate to help some of these people who have been tragically displaced, call 1-800-HELP-NOW. 1-800-257-7575 in Spanish, or you can go on the website at www.redcross.org. Very much needed. 15 seconds remaining here in the first quarter. 9-0. Gartner with 3 field goals already in the season, all in this game. A 45, a 43, and a 19-yarder. And he kicks it off to Kaiser. Kaiser fields it at the 6. Kaiser He has not gotten back to the 20-yard line yet.
But he's fighting like heck to do that. You know, every time he gets a chance and he sees an opening, he doesn't hesitate. That's what I do like about Kaiser. He's going to break one. It's just a matter of when.
This is the 5th possession of the game, and we're in the first quarter for the Rattlers of Florida A&M. They started at their own 19, their own 13, their own 14, their own 8, and their own 17, and 2 of their possessions ended in turnovers. Should be the last play of the first half as the handoff goes to the running back into the middle of the line. Pompey still running in there trying to get some yards, number 30. So the first quarter comes to an end here in Tallahassee as you look at Chris Owens, who was recruited by Nebraska, Cincinnati, and Colorado, but is making his living right here in Tallahassee with Florida A&M. We'll be back. Second quarter action coming your way from Bragg Stadium in just a moment. It is 2nd down and 10 for the Rattlers of Florida A&M. 2nd and 9, we'll call it. Here's the pass by Owens, and it's caught. Far sideline. Here's Kaiser. Cuts it back inside and knocked down at the 29. Roosevelt Kaiser with the long catch and run after the great pass by Chris Owens.
That's what this crowd was waiting on. They're waving the fans hard now because they want to see big plays like this. The play action pass sucks the defense in, and that allows just enough time. If you're looking inside, if you're a defensive back, Blake Saunders, this is what happens to you. You cannot look. Great hit right there by Sam Smith.
Well, I got to say he stepped out of bounds at the 40-yard line, so it's good for 54 yards. Well, they're going to mark it back. It's not 54 yards. It's probably about 42.
Sam Smith tried to take Kaiser's head off with that hit.
At the 40-yard line, the left-handed quarterback lets it go, and it's incomplete, intended for Parrish on the near sideline.
Being a left-hander, I know how hard that is. I haven't played a lot of quarterback in middle school, but then when you roll like that and try to stop and throw like Chris Owens is trying to do there, that's a tough throw. That's easier. That's an easier throw for a right-hander.
As we look at the first quarter stats, now Florida A&M you saw had no yards in the first half. In fact, before that 43-yard pass play just a minute ago, they had a 1 yard the whole first quarter.
They had more yards and penalties than they had
actual
offensive yards.
2nd down and 10. Here's a lefty, Chris Owens, calling signals from the shotgun on the little dangerous play. It worked out for them, but I'll tell you, it was a little shuffle pass to Pompey, and they almost blew it again.
It's dangerous in the sense that if they intercept it, it's a pass play, so you don't have to worry so much about him dropping it. I think that's what everybody was concerned with, but clearly he had no chance to get that, Rashad Pompey, and couldn't put it away. Chris Owens, a nice, smart move of waiting to the defenders to get out of the way so they can't intercept it and take it back.
It is 3rd down. 3rd and 10 at the 40-yard line. Deepest penetration for Florida A&M today. From the shotgun, Kaiser has the first down inside the 30 to the 27.
And who was in the backfield, Charlie? Number 6, Sam Smith.
Sam Smith everywhere.
He plays on both sides of the line of scrimmage, and he was almost there on Chris Owens. But Chris Owens waited, took his time, was poised enough to get the ball out to Roosevelt Kaiser. Watch 6. He's right there, and if he puts his hands up, he may knock the ball down. Kaiser waiting for this. This is a vertical guy and a short possession guy, and the reason why, he makes yards after catch. He's not afraid to go across the middle.
And that was a holdover from the old era of Billy Joe. They believed in what they call the West Coast offense. We have movement on the line with number 72, Richard Kuntz, the tackle. Roosevelt Kaiser, you know, he was 2nd team preseason all conference. And what made him so dangerous, I watched him play against Bethune-Cookman in the Florida Classic in Orlando last year, in which he had 5 receptions for 197 yards and 2 touchdowns. That was one heck of a game. It was a 58-52 affair in which Florida A&M lost in overtime to Bethune-Cookman. But their quarterback from a year ago, Ben Doherty, threw for like some phenomenal yards, 476 yards and 6 touchdowns in that game. 1st and 15. Here's Roosevelt Kaiser, 2 receptions in the game for 53 yards. And here's the quarterback, Owens. He decides to keep it and run it on 1st down. That was 1st and 15. Let's go to the studio.
Well, let's stay intrastate, guys. Florida.
And the Rattlers are trying to get something going here as they're faced with a 2nd down and 12. And now a timeout is being called by the Rattlers of Florida A&M. It's, I believe, their first timeout. And we'll take a timeout. 13:09 is the time remaining here in Tallahassee. We're in the first half. The Rattlers of Florida A&M. This is the first time they've been across midfield all evening long. Here's a reverse to Kaiser. He's brought down by Sammy Smith. Sam Smith is right there, the man on the spot, number 6. It's 4th down. 3rd down, rather.
You can't say enough about Sam Smith and his ability to find where the ball is. I mean, he's just a nose for the ball. He has a nose for the ball, knows where it is. He's a situational guy where they move him in different positions so he can find out exactly where the football is, and then he just goes and gets it.
He transferred out of William Penn College. There he is, number 6. He might play anywhere, might be anywhere on the field. Here's a little play action, and the quarterback has nowhere to go. As who's in there? Sam Smith.
And Sam would be a good receiver. And I'll tell you why. If you get a chance to see the replay, or even if you don't, you'll see it later. He had a great swim move. And he has a blocker coming at him, Pompey, and he just swims him. Doesn't have a chance. I mean, he's going to go right at Pompey and boom, I'm going to just swim you and get to the quarterback. That's how good I am. I'm not even worried about the first man. I'm going to make the first man miss. Most receivers can't do it that good.
That's right. Here's Wesley Taylor with his 3rd punt of the day. He's had a 32 and a 59-yarder. And it is not downed before it goes into the end zone. So it'll be brought out to the 20. Although they tried valiantly to down it before it hit the end zone. So Delaware State will get the ball for the 5th time this evening.
Getting back to Sam Smith, you talked to Andre Creamer, the defensive coordinator, and that's what he was saying. If this guy, he reads his keys right, he will wreak havoc for that offense for FAMU. Now on the other side, Delaware State is starting to get a rhythm. They have a 9-point lead. They can allow different things to happen. Rodney Roy has run the ball fairly well. They still want to see more of that, but also passing the football and the tradition here. They beat some good quality teams last year, and if they can continue it by beating a Florida A&M, that just gives them more confidence.
1st down and 10 for the Hornets. Winton swings it out to the right side, has it complete to his fullback, Shrewsbury, coming out of the backfield. He has a 1st down across the 30 to about the 33-yard line. So Mr. Shrewsbury out of Middletown, Delaware, who was played in 2 state title games at Middletown High, played football and basketball also.
Safe throw. You fake one way, you get the defense moving to the other side, reposition them. Darius Fountain is not as good moving side to side as he is going forward, and that allows Shrewsbury, true freshman, excited, getting his first big-time college catch.
Certainly did, and that was good for 14 yards, a 1st down. And now they put the ball back on the ground, and they put it in the hands of Roy. Very capable running back.
And you can see now they tried initially ISO blocking, going straight at this Florida A&M defense. But now what they're trying to do is position their guys where they can move to the side and have that defense moving laterally instead of forward. And then that way they can create some creases and holes. This defense is really fast. But if you get any kind of defense playing out of its position and not able to step and slide and flow and field to different holes, that creates running lanes.
Savage goes to the top of your screen, number 85. Working out of the shotgun is Winton. Winton was scheduled to be number 2 on the depth chart as far as quarterbacks was concerned, going right after spring ball. But Brian Botts, who was the man who threw for 12 touchdowns and over 1,800 yards a year ago, decided he didn't want to play football anymore. He was going back to California, so they left the team high and dry.
Well, and they were expecting big things out of Botts and his receiving corps. I mean, you have Shahir McBride, Dennis Savage, Rashad Coleman. They had a lot of weapons in place. Rodney Roy after a full season. But you know who comes in? Freshman out of Simeon High School, Deshaun Winton. He's getting an opportunity.
Out of Simeon High in Chicago. Coach said the team around him has to play well. They don't want to put too much on his shoulders. This throw too high. Incomplete, intended for McBride on the near sideline, and covering was Dorian Gibson, number 19. Defensively for Florida A&M, it'll bring up a 4th down.
And that was a tough situation. That offensive line did a very good job of establishing time for him. He had time to throw the ball, just tried to throw it way too hard, and the ball just took off on him.
So the second punt of the evening for Contos. His first one was 48 yards. 4th down. There you're looking at the very dangerous Roosevelt Kaiser, number 7. Almost blocked. What a kick. All the way back to the 14 is Kaiser. Kaiser fumbles the football. The Rattlers going after it. Delaware State's close. Who has it? It might be the Hornets. Yeah, they do have it. So the 3rd turnover today for the Rattlers.
Poetic justice, however. Blake Saunders, who got beat earlier by Roosevelt Kaiser, was the one that forced that fumble. Comes up behind and knocks the ball out. Kaiser with some great moves and great one-on-one things, but not able to hold on to the football.
54-yard punt, but it gave the ball back to Delaware State. We'll be back in a moment. So this drive starting at the 36-yard line for Delaware State at the Florida A&M 36. First play goes off to that's what I thought.
The redhead is not stopping.
Well, I don't know. It is 2nd down and 1. Here's Roy. Roy with the first down inside the 15, down to the 14-yard line. So he had 9 yards on his first carry, picks up the first down on the second one, and they move the chains forward for the Hornets of Delaware State as Mr. Roy continues to be the workhorse for the Hornets of Delaware State. 22 carries, or 22 yards rather, on 8 carries, and it's 1st down and 10.
Out of Northern California, really running with some authority. That's what they want to see. Al Levant says we need him to run to set up the pass.
Quarterback tripped down a little bit, but still managed to get the handoff, but the defense was there and waiting for him. Number 99, I believe that was St. Felix, or was it 95 there?
Well,
99, there's St. Felix.
St. Felix should thank one of the offensive linemen, Jeremy Breath or Travis Pierce, because whenever you get your foot stepped on, it's normally not the quarterback's fault. Even if it is, he's not going to get blamed. It's going to be that offensive lineman, whether they get holding calls or they get stepped on or anything else. They don't get credit, they just get blamed.
3-yard loss, 2nd and 13. Now the quarterback, Wenton, decides to keep it and go straight ahead. And he puts some yards back on the offensive side of the board. Takes it down to the 21-yard line. We're in Tallahassee, Florida at Bragg Memorial Stadium on the campus of Florida A&M for this MEAC matchup. Charlie Neal along with Charles Arbuckle. 8:07 the time remaining. 9-0 ball game. And so far the story has been the turnovers by the Rattlers of Florida A&M. They've turned the ball over 3 times, and the previous 2 have led to a couple of points. That is 6 points. 6 of the 9 on field goals by Gartner for Delaware State. From the shotgun, Wenton, little screen, left side. And they read it very well as it goes to McBride, the wide receiver, the flanker screen. He's going to be short of the first down. They stop him at about the 18-yard line. So it'll be a 35-yard field goal attempt upcoming.
And you know who doesn't get credit? He doesn't make the tackle, but who should get a lot of credit in film tomorrow? Tyrone McGriff comes out there and stops him from really gaining some forward momentum. And that's what allows the defense and his help to come over and make the tackle.
So for the 4th time today, Gardner will attempt the field goal. He's going to try to make it a 12-0 game. Out of the hole of Contos, it is up, it is long enough, and it is good. So he has hit 4 for 4 this evening. This one from 35 yards out. And it's a 12-0 ball game. Every mistake that the Rattlers have made has resulted in some points for the Hornets, making the trip south worthwhile. Of Saturday night college football prime time between Delaware State and Florida A&M. Due to time constraints, we move along in our action. Sharp is the man in motion. Play action. Here's Kaiser to the near side. Nowhere to go over there. Not much running room as he was bottled up there by Jamel Trott, number 47, who knocked him out of bounds.
Jamel got that very quick and didn't allow Kaiser. Kaiser, if you give him any time to really get going.
Yes, watch out.
If he gets a chance.
Turn out the lights.
Oh, yeah, because you can sense the burners are waiting to go.
You know, the only knock on him is his size. They list him as 5'9", 160. And Anderson High in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Here's the pitch to Pompey to the left side. Pompey, he's hit, almost stripped of the ball as he started to turn the corner on the far side.
But Charlie, you can't measure a guy's heart. And you look at Kaiser, and it doesn't matter how small or how big he is. He's not afraid to mix it up. He's not afraid to get in there and really mix it up with those big guys. You know, he plays so many different ways. They have to rest him a little bit because he goes, you know, he's on the return game. He's also
receiver. See, last year he only had to play receiver. As we see stacked receivers to the right side, everybody's going out and the ball's batted in the air. That was dangerous. Could have been INT on that. It was written all over it. Threw into a crowd. But I was going to say about Kaiser, the fact that, you know, there was William Judson who was here last year who did all the returning of the kicks and punts. So all he had to do was concentrate on receiving. Now he has to do everything.
Well, you want his speed on the field, but you also don't want to wear him down, and you have to get it. They have enough receivers where they can play and give him a break. But when you have him out, that's where sometimes you don't get the opportunity to pick up those yardage plays that you need out of a guy like Kaiser.
Taylor gets off the good punt after being pressured, his 4th punt of the night. And this return by Rubottom, the veteran from Virginia Beach, Virginia senior. He missed the opener a year ago with a hernia.
And we talk about Rubottom. He had 2 returns for touchdowns last year. So if you don't watch out.
Oh, yeah, he can make you have a heart palpitations quickly, huh?
18 returns, 2 touchdowns. That's a pretty good ratio on kick and punt return.
Well, right after this game, stay tuned here on the U for the UTEP Miners as they take on New Mexico State. Should be a pretty good one. Hal Mummy's New Mexico State Aggies on the I-10 rivalry out there. 1st down and 10. Trying to go to the right side is Roy. Roy went about 4 yards, 4 tough yards around the right side, and everybody's talking a little smack down there.
Well, if you count where his helmet went, he only gained 3 yards because his helmet lost a yard. I mean, he went in there, and his helmet came out the other way. Snot's probably flying out. His equipment needs to be adjusted. Head's hurting a little bit. Oh, yeah. The alley guys don't mind you coming in their alley. They're going to let you know they're there. They come downhill. Now, you want to see in between those tackles. You get outside there. Now, look, the defensive backs that are coming up, boom! I want to hit you real hard. I want to let you know I'm there. The linebackers, too, want to do it, but those defensive backs have a longer way to run. Oh, I'm hurting a little bit there.
Zeb Davis is in now in place of Roy. Here's the quarterback pitch to Zeb Davis. He fumbles the ball. Maybe a break for the Rattlers. It is picked up down the sideline. Still on his feet. Going to the end zone. Dowdy. Touchdown, FAMU.
You need a big play to happen. And sometimes it has to occur when a guy comes in. He's not quite prepared, hadn't had his mind into the game, hadn't played. The minute the ball comes to him, he fumbles. Sam Dowdy, he's been in the game. He's one of those alley guys. Now, alley guys like to get the ball, too. They don't want to just make big hits. They want to make big plays, and Sam Dowdy definitely did that on that play.
Well, Dowdy electrified the crowd that have been sitting on their hands here at Bragg Stadium. And he picks it off the fumble, and here's the point after for Wesley Taylor, who's been doing all the punting, now attempting the point after. Kaiser will hold. And now we have movement in the offensive line. This comes with 4:33 remaining in the second quarter.
Dowdy's going to vouch for trying to play offense because that sideline, he was right there. He was dancing on the sideline. The ball's going to come out.
Here it is.
Never did get the handle on it. And then Dowdy, watch this.
He just picks it up.
Look, he stayed on that sideline.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that was a nice move by Dowdy.
Never touched it. And he goes untouched into the end zone.
Charlie, heads-up play, though, too, to pick the ball up and say, let me go.
Yep.
Instant offense. Let me be an offensive player right now.
Well, they're going to kick it a little bit closer for the point after. There's an offsides penalty against Delaware State. This will make it a 12-7 ball game. Should Taylor hit this PAT? It's up. Plenty of distance, and it is good. And so we finally get the Rattlers on the board. This comes with 4:33 remaining here in the second quarter. And it's 12-7. Dowdy with the return. 40. Maybe 40-some yards, I believe. Well, let's see exactly where they mark it or where they picked it up from. But there's a timeout on the field. 12-7 is our score from Tallahassee. Our score here in Tallahassee. And the Rattlers of Florida A&M finally got the crowd going here. This stadium, Bragg Stadium, 25,000 capacity, was originally built in 1957 and expanded to its present capacity back in 1982. Here's the kick. On the return. Let's go to Mike Hall in the U studio.
Charlie, thank you very much. Coming up.
Pretty good ball game here in Tallahassee. Of course, Urban Meyer not far down the road from here. See how they're doing, huh?
Chris Leak.
Yeah.
Their outstanding quarterback out of Charlotte, North Carolina.
1st and 10 at their own 23-yard line. And the defense starting to rise to the occasion for the Rattlers of Florida A&M is Lante Finney. Makes the stop defensively, number 59.
Where is Reuben Carter's stamp, Charlie? If you think of this team, where does it come?
Well, the defense.
Okay, well,
no question.
Quite frankly, that's where their offense may have to be their defense at times this year. And you can see that already with Sam Dottie.
But when you talk to Reuben, he feels that the receivers is the strength of the team, the offense.
It is, but we already have seen Albert Chester couldn't get it done. Chris Owens looks good at times. So until they catch up, it always is the way your defense is ahead of your offense.
Play action. Winton letting it go. Nobody there but the defense, and it's Dowdy with the interception.
I think I said we need to see somebody make a play. And 31 seems to want to be the guy to show up.
So with under 5 minutes to go, Delaware State has turned over the ball twice to the Rattlers of Florida A&M. A fumble, now an INT.
Well, nice play because the cornerback clearly has coverage. Sam Dowdy playing in that 2-deep zone where there's 2 safeties back deep. The ball is way overthrown, and he's able to just run underneath it.
He already has a 51-yard fumble recovery for a touchdown.
Keith Williams with good coverage, and then Sam Dowdy in that quarter position just goes over and makes a nice, easy catch.
So at their own 41-yard line is where Florida A&M will go to work with 3:37 to go in the first half, trailing by 5. The pass in the middle, and it's caught. Chris Owens with the pass. And coming up with the big catch for the Rattlers of Florida A&M is Taj Jenkins, a backup tight end.
And you don't see the tight end much in this offense, but when they come in, Taj Jenkins, nice route. He runs like he's going to run a post route, then at the top of it goes into a dig where he cuts it off. Chris Owens with a nice throw, too.
We just said that the strength of the offense is the receivers. They can play 8 receivers, but this time the quarterback, Owens, stood there a little bit too long, didn't get outside the pocket, or I should say the pocket collapsed and somebody's hurt. One of the offensive linemen is down, and he's in pain.
And when you have
might be the center, McIntosh.
And when you have bodies piled up like that, it looks like he got rolled over, and clearly he's in a lot of pain. Chris Owens never had a chance to even set up and throw. There was so much pressure that was brought that time by Delaware State.
Well, we don't want to speculate on the injury, but we do know it's one of the offensive linemen, and I believe it's the center who they're tending to down on the sideline. You know, next week after this particular game, the Rattlers will host Howard here at home, and then they go on the road for 3 straight games after tonight's contest. And then, of course, Delaware State goes home next week against Millersville, and then they hit the road for 3 straight weeks. So this is important to get off to a good start, especially at home.
It is, and you want your fan base behind you. You want to get confidence in yourself after having a tough season that you had last year, and then all the changes in the offseason, and then everything that's occurring for this Rattler ball club. But once again, we said you have to have a guy like Reuben Carter providing the stability, but also you have to have leaders on your team. Guys like Sam Dottie, who seems to step up tonight saying, I'm going to make plays. And maybe it's Roosevelt Kaiser, who's the big-time receiver for you. Those guys on the team have to be the ones to say, this is our team. We know we have a coach that's going to do what he's going to do in the staff, but we have to be the ones to take responsibility and accountability for our team.
You know what's so interesting is when Reuben Carter interviewed for this particular job, he not only interviewed with the administration, the athletic people who were doing the search committee, the athletic director, the president. He also met with the players and the coaches. And out of the 5 final candidates, they seem to take to him the best.
Yeah, and I think what happened is he was himself. He said about 2 years ago, I decided that I wanted to be a head coach. And this is good to see him out there to make sure that, you know, that his players are all right. But this just goes to show what kind of respect that they had for him before he even got here. All the 5 candidates had to talk to
the team.
And
I asked him yesterday, I said, did you know you were going to talk to him? He said no.
No, he didn't know.
I said, would you have said anything differently or planned a speech any differently had you known you were going to talk to him as opposed to being put on the spot?
And he said, no, Charlie, we've been in those situations. You and I both have when you've been in the spot and you have an opportunity and a time and a place, and you're just prepared for it, no matter what that situation is. And Reuben Carter was in that situation. Garth McIntosh from the Freeport, Bahamas.
And it looks like it's his left leg, and he's trying to get off under his own power. I mean, that's a good sign. That's a good sign. Let's go to the studio for an update in the U. Mike?
Thank you very much, Charlie. We mentioned Urban Meyer had his first game coming up. We got 2 head coaches here, Weiss and Wanstead with first games. Look at Tyler Palko to Greg Lee, one of the best quarterback to wide receiver connections that we have in college football. A 39-yard score, 7-0. Pittsburgh has an early lead, and you see Notre Dame's done a pretty good job in their season openers. Meanwhile, Washington, Ty Willingham in his debut, he goes down 20-17. Back to you, Charlie.
All right, we're facing a 2nd and 15 here for first-year coach Reuben Carter, and another pressure put on the quarterback again, and guess who's there to put the pressure on him? Sammy Smith.
Sammy Smith is so fast, but on the right side of your screen you'll get to see McIntosh, and just his leg and body just does not go the way it's supposed to. You can't really see it in that mix-up of folks, but just a tough injury, and luckily to see him come off, that's good for him. We hope it's not as bad as it took for him to get off.
Sam Smith can be a linebacker, he can be a D-back, and here he comes again. He gets around, and here's the pressure and a sack, and they get to the quarterback again, Chris Owens.
You know who Junior Seau used to make a living like this, and what it does, it starts making all the offensive linemen look for where Sammy Smith is. But you know what ends up happening? Somebody else is going to come free because they're so worried. Look, the slide protection is going one way. Everybody's looking outside. It doesn't come from Sam Smith, but he makes it so advantageous for the other players on this team.
So from their own 41, this is where this drive originally started. They're going to punt it away. Wesley Taylor. And it takes a FAMU bounce, and it'll die inside the 10 at the 9-yard line. So with 1:56 to go, Delaware State will start deep in their own territory at their own 9. This will be their worst field position of the night.
And it's hard to game plan, Charlie, right off the bat when you have a guy like Sam Smith that just lines up in different gaps and makes it tough for you.
51-yard punt by Taylor. And Friday night, Texas Class 5A Division I state champion Robert E. Lee High of Tyler and Ohio Division I titleist Coleraine High from Cincinnati. They'll meet in a battle of perennial powers with national bragging rights on the line. It's the McDonald's Ohio versus USA Challenge Friday night Eastern right here on ESPNU, which is subject to blackout. For more information, all going to ESPN.com. Roy, welcome to Tallahassee.
Well, you want to be close to your nickname. You want to strike like a Rattler. And this defense takes that mantra and they go with it because they come after you. Now, they have a chance now. They know they have it in good position. All guys getting to the ball. There's one.
Ernest Williams, 25 there.
Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Even the big guys get over there. That's hustle. Altaric Brown, he doesn't get the tackle, but he's going to get some love in the film room.
Now, we've got to watch out for number 10, Tyrone McGriff. I asked Ruben yesterday, who reminds you of you? Who's relentless like you? He said Tyrone McGriff, number 10. I don't believe he's in the lineup right now, but when he is in there, I think he's lined up at the top in the defensive end spot. And he may be in on this tackle right now. I believe he is.
Well, he is. He shows up.
There
That's
he is, number 10.
Ruben Brown said he always is around the football. But Altaric Brown and Steve St. Felix, big guys right there. You're going to see right in your screen, taking on two people, coming underneath. Look, he's got a hand in his face. Marcus Reynolds outweighs him by 100 pounds. But when you play with leverage, meaning you play low, you get your pads under other guys. He's 215, and how big is Marcus Reynolds? 320.
Right. Well, you look at that Tyrone McGriff. You know, his cousin was Charlie Ward. His dad was a former offensive lineman, a 3-time All-American here at Florida A&M. He's one of 6 players on this team whose dads played here at Florida A&M, and he's related to the baseball player
Fred McGriff.
Yeah. At the studio, ESPNU at halftime. A report with Mike Hall and the gang. And they will catch up on USC's defense of their title. A shocker in Norman, Oklahoma today. I think they were 7th when they went into today's contest. And Urban Meyer's debut. All that coming your way at halftime from the studio of the U with 1:03 left here. Facing a 3rd down, 3rd and about 5 for Delaware State. Sean Linton and the handoff. Not going to get to the 1st down is Roy. He's going to be short, maybe about well, let's see, depending on where they mark it, it looks like he may be short by ½ a yard.
Well, and if he doesn't get it, FAMU's trying to call a timeout so they can get some time and get the ball back here and maybe score some kind of points, whether it's a touchdown or a field goal.
When you see the clock under a minute and you see the timeouts remaining, Delaware State has all 3 of theirs left, while the Rattlers of Florida A&M has 1. So it will bring up a 4th down punting situation. They want to talk things over on the sideline.
Charlie, we talked about it, but to build a program is one thing when you have spring ball and then you come into preseason. But to come in 3 weeks and take over a ball club, even though the coaching staff
the deck is kind of stacked against you.
But you know what I like? He said, I went to the administrators. I talked to the people to say, I'm here. I want to work with you guys to make the best possible
Administrator,
program.
the police department.
Yeah.
He went around and met everybody. He said he took 3 days just to away from football, just to go and make himself acquainted with the people and the powers to be on campus.
You're always asking people, how do you think outside the box? And that may be common sense for some people, but if you're building a program, you have to look at, you have to script everything you want to do in order to get it going. And we're seeing that from both coaches, because they come from established traditions. They played a long time. They've been around the game a long time, and they've had in their mind how they want to develop an organization, all the mentors they've had throughout their careers. But this is what those players are going to see. Andre Creamer said that about Alabama. I've learned more in my time around him than I've learned from anybody else, because Tom Landry, you think of those guys that he's been under.
And there's the center, McIntosh, going to the locker room. Hope he is all right. He's a third year that he's started for the Rattlers of Florida A&M. Another good kick by Contos, and a fair catch made by Kaiser right at the 41-yard line. 51 seconds to go. And let's revisit the play that led to the only touchdown in this ball game.
Well, when you get an opportunity, you have to take advantage of it. Zeb Davis comes in the game cold, doesn't have a chance, and Vashawn Witten has an opportunity to stop Sammy Dottie, but he's not going to be denied that 6 points.
So from their own 41-yard line, Florida A&M going to work. This pass complete for first down to Roosevelt Kaiser from the quarterback Chris Owens, and he steps out of bounds. The clock stops with 45 seconds to go.
Nice set of hands by Kaiser, just sucking the ball out of the air. You know, that's the tough thing too. When you have a right-handed quarterback, it makes it tough. You can see the passing yards for Delaware State. Look at, they've gone down. Florida A&M have gone up. And I'll talk about this a little bit more as the game goes on. The difference between a right-handed quarterback and a left-handed quarterback for receiver.
67 of those yards belong to Kaiser. Here's pressure from the backside from Sam Smith. We just may as well just put his name on every play because, you know, we just say Sam Smith. From now on, Sam Smith was involved in that play somehow on the defensive side.
They have 12 people on the offense for Florida A&M, and number 6 is the 12th man.
12th man.
And getting back to the point about throwing the ball, if you're a right-handed quarterback, the rotation goes outside. So when you throw it, it rotates outside to the right. When you're left-handed, it rotates to the left. So for receivers, sometimes if they haven't had a chance to catch you in warm-ups, it makes it difficult the way the ball is spinning.
Didn't work from the shotgun this time. Steps in there, throws down the sideline, and is incomplete. Too big, a little bit too far. And that was intended. Number 81 over there. That's Gerard Morgan.
And Charlie, we haven't seen that really come into play because most of the receivers have caught the ball well. But sometimes, I mean, Chris Owens is managing the game well, only when he has that 11th man in the box, or that 12th man, so to speak, like his number, Sam Smith, show up. He can't get the ball off.
3rd down and 10 right now. This time they'll work from the shotgun. Pompey is the lone back there with him. Pompey comes out of the backfield to do some blocking. Again, down the sideline. And it is caught by number 81. This time, Gerard Morgan. Morgan with the big reception down to the 12-yard line. He was covered as well as you can cover a man defensively.
Well, and clearly Chris Owens has the vertical stretch game. You know, you can talk about West Coast, Gulf Coast, whatever you want to call it. But this offense lends itself to distance down the field. Look at that nice, tight spiral. Catchable balls, whether it's right-handed or left-handed, right between the 8 and the 1, the best place to hit him.
Kofi Amoa was the defender. And look at Sam Smith. He was trying to read.
It's going to be a near ride.
He was trying to guess the snap, and he was coming regardless of whether they snapped the ball or not. And he was in the quarterback's face, and the lineman a little upset behind that.
but some of the fathers of linemen, he's taking advantage of these linemen, and we'll talk about it after we hear the play.
Well, they're saying it's false start against FAMU.
Richard Kuntz jumped offside.
Okay. Moved prematurely.
Yeah, he moved prematurely, and that's about the 3rd time we've seen him do that. And that's what'll happen.
And that's the 7th penalty against Florida A&M in the first half.
On the right of your screen,
there he
is.
Yeah.
You know, Kuntz is thinking it's on 1. It's on 2.
Well, you know, I bet you who caused him to move was Sam Smith.
Sam Smith was on the other side.
Yeah, but he saw him out of his peripheral vision. And the pressure again, and it's batted in the air. This time it wasn't Sam Smith, though, but he has the ball. I told you he'd be in on every play.
Always around the football. You know, Reuben Carter talked about it yesterday. Their offensive linemen, even though they're big, they're not in the best shape, body mechanics, and guys move out of position. And when you're that big, you can see if you miss a block, they're not there. That's Evan Lipford there. If they miss a block, they're not athletic enough yet to get back into position to make the play.
A 35-yard field goal attempt by Wesley Taylor to bring his team to within 2, and there's a flag down. The kick is up long enough. It is no good. It's off to the left, but let's see what the penalty flag is all about.
Someone on Delaware State's side jumped offside.
So they're going to give him a second chance.
And that was a major mistake if it was on Delaware State.
Because there's no time on the clock and the half cannot end on a defensive penalty.
Exactly. You can't make those kind of mistakes. That's just taking it easy. That is just unacceptable.
And now LeVan, he's got to be beside himself.
That's unacceptable out on the left. And he can get back. That's the one thing that coaches just pull their hair out at night. Players, your own player, you'll go to the guy and say, look, we can't have that. That was Blake Saunders if that was 25 offside. He can see the ball, Charlie, and he's also not involved in the play. They're not in a field goal block. They're just in a let's play safe mode. Let's not jump off sides. They missed the field goal. They go in the locker room. Now they have another. Wesley Taylor has another chance.
30-yard field goal. He missed one from 35 just a moment ago. Now as the helmet comes off, this one is up, and this one is good. So a 3-point mistake by jumping off sides, and as they go into the locker room, it's a 12-10 ball game here. News coverage of Saturday night college football primetime between Delaware State and Florida A&M. We're at halftime, and Delaware State leads FAMU by a score of 12-10. Due to time constraints, we move along in our action. Back in Tallahassee, we're getting ready to start the second half. Charlie Neal and Charles Arbuckle. Good crowd on hand here for the season opener at Florida A&M, and they are trailing the Hornets of Delaware State at halftime, 12-10. As we get ready to start the second half, Delaware State will get the ball to start the second half. Wesley Taylor to kick it off in the deep man for the Hornets. Freddie Middlebrooks, a senior from St. Petersburg, Florida. That'll be Middlebrooks right at the goal line, and he'll bring it out. Middlebrooks still on his feet, gets out across the 20 to about the 21-yard line, and that's where Delaware State will go to work, first down and 10. And the first half, a game of kicking in terms of the points put on the board and mistakes on both teams. 5 turnovers between the two teams.
That's what you can't have. The first game of the season, you expect some penalties or some mistakes, but not way too many for both teams. And the other thing is opportunities and missed opportunities. Delaware State had a chance to really get after it and make more points, but didn't capitalize. And FAMU, Sam Dowdy, made 2 big plays to turn the game around.
And that one was a 51-yard fumble recovery that was the first touchdown of the game put on the board by either team. 4 field goals for Delaware State, a field goal and a touchdown for Florida A&M. First down and 10 from the shotgun. Here's the quarterback deciding to keep it, and he's hit a couple times before he's finally brought down. Coming up to make the stop was McGriff. Tyrone McGriff, as you look at the first half stats, total yards go to the Rattlers 143-84, but the score is in favor of Delaware State. Of course, they had had very good field goal position throughout the first half, and that helped them with their field goal situation. But the penalties.
And those 3 turnovers for Florida A&M didn't turn out to be as bad as that 1 turnover for Delaware State.
Actually, Delaware State had 2 turnovers. To be honest with you, they had
that one big one.
They had the big one, the fumble, and then the field goal. Here's a pass out in the flat to the Shrewsbury, the fullback. And Shrewsbury, here's the number 6 on the other side of the ball. That's Keith Williams, the DB, who came up to make the stop out of Mount Vernon, New York. He's 5'9" senior, making the stop defensively.
Well, I tell you what, if you look at Sam Smith, he is a guy that used to play cornerback.
Sam Smith on the Delaware State side.
Delaware State side. And I just say that to say Keith Williams sees the other number 6 and says, hey, I need to play as good as he's playing.
That's right. We all wearing 6. Hey, let's get it done. Third down. We'll call it 7. And a sack of the quarterback. And here's McGriff. We talked about him just before the end of the first half. He's made 2 big plays here in the second half.
David Jones just doesn't do the job on McGriff. With a guy like McGriff, or anybody that's undersized, you need to stay with it. On the far side of your screen, your left, all David Jones does is try to engage and hit one time. You got to punch and get back. And this puts your quarterback in a bad position, because if you're the left tackle and you miss your block, he doesn't see it. 2 can't get rid of it. He gets hurt. He gets upset. Coach is mad at you.
Punting the ball, Eric Contos punted very well and is still kicking good. Kaiser From the 35 out to the 42, 43. About an 8-yard return.
He made an 8-yard return look nice. Kaiser has chill ability. You know, he chills you out, and then boom, I'm gone. Then he has the bayou ability. I'm going to run right by you.
45-yard punt that time. So Florida A&M at their own 40. They'll mark it at the 43. First possession of the second half. Running straight ahead into the gut, and it's still going. We saw for a while Driscoll warming up. That's the third quarterback. We were wondering if Coach Ruben Carter was going to change quarterbacks.
Well, you see the quarterback comparison, very comparable. However, Chris Owens with those big yards, that he has much bigger yardage advantage, over almost 100 more than Winton.
And here's Pompey into the secondary to the 30, 20, 10, 5, touchdown, Florida A&M.
You know, Charlie, that was nice because you finally got to see Pompey in open space, and you finally got Delaware defensive guys out of position. Delaware State had been on their keys the whole game, but in that particular instance, they work to the right and come back, and when he cuts back on a downhill run, there was nobody back on the backside.
You know, 53 yards for Mr. Pompey, and here's the point after. First lead of the evening for the Rattlers of Florida A&M. On for the point after. Taylor. He's hit a field goal and an extra point already. This one is up, and it is good. And now Florida A&M with a 17-12 lead. 11:57 to go. Pompey dives into the end zone. Here's Rashard Pompey, 53-yard touchdown. He had a 57-yard a year ago. And let's look at this one.
Nice look from behind, but how everybody pushes over. Sam Smith, number 6, probably in that other area. You see chase being given by Derek Singleton, but Pompey shows great speed, but also the vision and the patience to cut back at the right time.
Middlebrooks comes up to field the kick. Middlebrooks gets to the 30, 35, 40, and up across the 40 to the 41-yard line. Good field position for Delaware State on the kickoff return. Let's go to the studio. The U, Mike.
Thanks, Charlie. Texas A&M and Clemson. Time for an update with Chauncey Stuckey. 47 yards out. He's moving right along, footloose and fancy-free, all the way to the touchdown. Tigers up 10-3. There's happiness in Death Valley.
All right, we have a good one here in Tallahassee. 11:50 to go. And we're talking about Pompey and what he did. He's 23 yards away from 2,000 career. He came into the game needing 89. He has 66, and he had 53 on that one run. But it's first down and 10. Del State at their own 42. They trail it right now. And here's a handoff to Roy trying to go to the right side. Rodney Roy from Hayward, California, transferred into Delaware State from Laney Community College.
Coming away from the West Coast to the East Coast.
And you know, one of the things we talked about Al Levan, he was saying he didn't really know if he had a real go-to back. Yeah. I mean, he's still trying to find some identity in the backfield as far as leaders are concerned. Emmanuel Mark is back there. You got Rodney Roy. You got Billy Henderson. You're using Adam Shrewsbury, Zeb Davis. We've seen most all these guys play tonight, and he's just trying to find somebody who's going to pick up the slack. And again, not much going on there. Defense collapsing very well on that right side. And who was there? McGriff.
Always around. Hey, you know, you make a good point, because what they want to have is one back. They want to have one guy that can be the X factor, the factor back, or whatever you want to call him. They haven't quite found that. Rodney Roy is their guy. They bring in Zeb Davis, and so each one of them do things pretty well, but not one of them do everything like they want it done.
Shrewsbury's done a pretty good job catching the ball coming out of the backfield. One lone setback, though, right now behind the quarterback, Linton, on 3rd and long. We got a flag. We got a holding I mean, it was so obvious everybody in the stadium threw a flag.
I'm up here about to throw my flag out because David Jones got beat so bad. And it was so obvious to the crowd, you, I, everybody. Look at 72-10. ISO right there. Now, he just takes him down. That's WWF. That would work in the WWF, but not in college football.
It certainly doesn't.
McGriff is on. You know, McGriff now has got his groove. He's saying, look, you can't stop me with that guy right there. Now, you better get some help.
You know, you
said I know the numbers.
David Jones did the takedown, but if anybody, you would think Zeb Davis. He was a four-time state wrestling champion in New Jersey.
We talked to him before, right? He and David Jones probably have tussled, and he's gotten David Jones down. So David Jones is learning from Zeb Davis.
Punting situation now. Contos for the second punt of the second half. Done a great job of punting tonight. Kaiser, he calls for the fair catch.
Makes a mistake right there.
Yeah.
Inside the 10, you let it go.
Yeah. Don't forget, right after this game, we'll take you out to New Mexico State. UTEP in New Mexico State at 10:30 Eastern, right here on ESPNU. The Aggies and the Miners going to do battle. Talking about the punting situation here tonight. That young man, Contos, is averaging 48 yards a punt tonight, so that's pretty good.
Kicking the ball well.
That was a 48-yarder that time. First down and 10. The ball at the 8-yard line. One to the air. Too big. Yeah. And defense couldn't even get to that one.
And Kaiser had too many moves. You know, he had too many on that one.
Let's go to the studio. Mike Hall.
Charlie, the third longest win streak in the nation is in trouble. Auburn taking on Georgia Tech. Reggie Ball is in the backfield, a very talented quarterback. Looking for Calvin Johnson 35 yards away. Just watch. Stays in bounds. 7-zip. Tech up.
Second down and 10. Pompey, who has a 53-yard touchdown run to his credit in this game. Maybe a yard on that one. And it'll bring up a third down and 9. 10 minutes the time remaining in the third quarter.
And this is a situation where Florida A&M and Bob Cole may be a little bit hesitant to really open up the offense, because right here is in a position where this Delaware State team has 3 defenders that have scored touchdowns last year, and they know that they'll get after the football.
Here's Owens throwing, and this is incomplete. He was trying to go to Kaiser. One of the things you have to remember, there's a lot of pressure defensively on Kaiser too. So everybody's watching him because they know how dangerous he is, and they've got to set something up to use him as a decoy, I think.
We haven't called Ronald Wright's name much tonight, and I thought he would be more involved in the offense, and Willie Haywood or R.B. Parrish.
Right.
More guys, but Kaiser is the person that they like to go to in clutch situations.
Wesley Taylor, this is what he's done tonight. 59 yards, his longest. That happened on his second punt of the game. His first career college punt covered 32 yards. Much better than his predecessor. Blocked by Delaware State. Kicked out of the end zone for a safety.
Smart move by him.
Yes, it was. Because had he not kicked it out of the end zone, it would have been 6 points.
That was a very heads-up play by Wesley Taylor.
So the punt is blocked. 2 points on the board on the safety. So it's a 3-point ball game.
You don't mind the penalty there. You'll give it up for illegal kicking. You don't care. But that allows you now to not have 7 points. Just a clean get off right there.
Number 27 comes up with it.
Akeem Green.
Right.
Comes in, and Al Levan said our special teams have to improve, and I say improve they did on that. You block a punt right there, and that's what you want to do, Charlie. We talked about game-changing plays, whether the defense does it or your special teams. You have to account for that end man. The snap was a little bit bad, so that 1/2 step allowed Akeem Green to get to Wesley Taylor. And that normally happens in this situation because it's a shorter field. You don't have as far to snap the ball. The punter can't go as far back as 15 normal yards. So if it's only 13, it's a shorter distance for that block guy.
So Delaware State will get the ball following the safety on the free kick. Now you have a choice of punting it or kicking it off, and we'll see what the Rattlers do with it.
But very heads-up play by Wesley Taylor.
It certainly was for a young kicker who was best known as a soccer-type kicker, and until this year was not a punter. Damon Miller was the punter of record a year ago. He didn't punt at all last year. He was just doing point afters and field goals. But they're going to punt this one this time. 29 feeling it is Paul Brum, and Brum pulls his way up to the 48-49 yard line. Well, Delaware State timeout on the field. 9:13. That's the time remaining here. We're in the ball game, the fourth quarter. We'll be back to the studio in a moment. Of Saturday night college football prime time between Delaware State and Florida A&M. Due to time constraints, we move along in our action. First down and 10, Florida A&M, and you know, when we get a chance, we'll talk a little bit about some of the situations some of these assistant coaches faced here at Florida A&M with uncertainty after the old coach Billy Joe was let go. Here's Pompey trying to go to the left side, cuts it back inside, picks up good yardage, about 7 up to the 19-yard line. Billy Joe was told to, or the school fired 5 of his assistants back early on in the year. Then he was here through spring practice. After he let those 5 go, he brought in 5 more coaches to take their place. Then he was let go in June, and they were in limbo for a couple of weeks until Reuben Carter came in, or just before he came in, not knowing exactly what their position was going to be. And we'll talk about how they survived this in a moment. Here's Pompey into the secondary, first down, cuts it back, still on his feet. Up to the 39-yard line goes Rashard Pompey. Big run for the big fellow who, before that run, was 15 yards away from the 2,000 career mark.
What we're seeing, Charlie, are great halftime adjustments. Coming out at the half and really making adjustments and running the ball in areas where you can get away from a Sam Smith, get away from Russell Reeves, who we haven't called a whole lot tonight. Getting away from some of those guys that make big plays for Delaware State's defense and get into that third level of that secondary.
Play action, rolls left, throws back, and it's complete. 8-yard gain. That was a first down play, and they get it to the big receiver, number 82. That's Todd Jenkins. Second time we've seen him.
He's making nice cameos. He comes on the scene and just steals the show. Nice catch early on the dig route. That one right there. Almost picking up a first down. Taj Daniel hadn't played a whole lot. 2 catches, making nice yards on both.
Here's the pitch. Pompey, first down at midfield.
Charlie, I like what Pompey is doing because he's identifying what his hole is going to be, and he's going down. He's not waiting to let the hole open up.
And he has his 2,000 career yards. Before that run, he had 94 yards on 9 carries. So he's averaged almost 10 yards a carry. Of course, the 53-yard run didn't hurt him. It didn't hurt his average.
You know, Bob Cole, his offensive coordinator, you can see his numbers tonight. 2003, actually, on the career now. But really able to run the football well.
And he's still on his feet, down to the 45-yard line. So congratulations to Mr. Pompey. You know, he came into the game with 1,911 yards, but more importantly, throughout his career, he's had 5 100-yard games. He was a walk-on. He's now in grad school. He already walked and got his degree in May, and he had another year of eligibility, and it shows you what kind of character he has to come back and play.
That's good. Good to see guys get their degree, but also play well when they're playing.
And here he is again. And he's just wearing down the defense.
And it's also getting Sam Smith. We haven't called his name like he wants to. Now he's coming out. That pat on the head, that's universal for, I'm tired, coach. I need a blow. But what you're going to see is Sam Smith coming your screen, and that hesitation inside. That's patience enough to say Sam Smith's coming from the outside. He hadn't been lining up inside now, and they know that. They work inside, freezing him for just a second, and Pompey finds that opening and goes for it.
Well, his dad, Robert, was a running back on this 1978 first ever 1AA championship team, and now he's filling in those gaps right now as he gets back to the line of scrimmage, and that's all he's going to get. That's not Richard, that's just Arlen. Let's go to the studio and Mike Hall. 4:05 to go. Third.
USC and Hawaii. Matt Leinart continues to roll, Tom.
I tell you what, the veteran leadership of Matt Leinart, seeing a matchup out wide, audibling and taking advantage of it. I think he's the best deep ball thrower in college football.
67-yard pass, which means that 73-yard record is no longer. 74 touchdown passes for Matt Leinart.
From the shotgun this time, the left-hander Owens rolls left, sets up, throws, and it's a little short. Too short for his intended receiver. And that's Craig Swain out of Miami's Northwestern High.
You know, Charlie, you look at this Florida A&M organization and program and the history that they have, and you know they've gone through a few tough times.
Yes, they have
here lately, and they're waiting on their fate to be kind of determined by the NCAA. They also thought they could go to Division 1A. That didn't work. But what they do have is tradition, and it's hard to create tradition like Delaware State is trying to do. If you already have it, you can package that up and sell it.
Right.
You know, it's something tangible that you can hold on to.
And they've had tradition over the years, starting way back with Juby Bragg, who the stadium is named for, and his son Eugene, who played here. Then, of course, you've got Jake Gaither, you know, who did tremendous things. He won 203 games in 25 years, 85%, never, ever had a losing season. And you had Rudy Hubbard, who was the coach when they won their first ever 1AA championship in 1978. They beat UMass that year to win that game 35-28, the championship. They also won 23 championships or conference titles when they were a member of the SIAC under former coach Jake Gaither. So, you know, he had 7 national titles. Billy Joe in 11 years had 1 losing season. That's when they fired him after he had a losing season. But, you know, tradition again is great. Then you had people like Bob Hayes who played here, and Willie Gallimore and Earl Holmes and Quinn Gray, and I mean you could go on. And Althea Gibson is a product of Florida A&M, and so you know, like you said, the tradition continues.
One of my former co-workers was a quarterback here, Tony Ezell, Antoine Ezell.
Yeah.
And he, you know, that was the one thing he talked about. I'd always talk about UCLA, but he was always right there in my face with FAMU.
This is a field goal attempt. This will be from 42 yards, a 52-yard field goal attempt for Wesley Taylor. And we get a whistle. We may have delay of game. Clock ran out on him, so we probably wound up punting it now because that'll be a 57-yard field goal attempt. So we'll probably bring on the punter.
I was going to say, he has a strong leg.
And you talked about the probationary situation. It was an in-house investigation that they conducted themselves. On Monday, they have to answer the NCAA.
Yeah.
And then October 16th, the infractions committee will meet to determine the fate. And it involved not only football, it involved a lot of programs. I don't know if that was supposed to be a coffin corner kick or not, but Wesley Taylor got a pretty rough kickoff. 3:14 the time remaining. 3-point ball game. 17-14. The Rattlers at home with the lead. Here in Tallahassee with 3:14 left in the third quarter. And a 3-point ball game. 17-14 Florida A&M. Delaware State with the ball. 1st and 10 at their own 20. Little play action right now from Whitney. Lets it go. Has a man wide open at the 42, 43-yard line and down to midfield. For the Delaware State's Hornets is Rashad Coleman, a wide receiver, former running back who's moved out to the wide receiver spot.
One of the first plays you've seen Winton with a very nice throw.
30-yard gain. Yeah.
Fake play action pass. It sucks people in. Even the defenders, defensive back wise, you can see everybody out of position. There's supposed to be someone over there, but when you have that play fake, Darius Fountain caught out of position, And that allows that corner route to be hit right where it's supposed to be.
Right at midfield after the 30-yard gain. Witten again going to the air, rolling right this time. Has it complete for a 4-yard gain, but he made it hard for the receiver, Amir Manning, to make that catch. Let's go to the studio with the U and Mike.
Curvin Richards. Yeah.
All right, thanks very much.
All right, Mike, second down. 2nd and 6 after the 4-yard gain. Offsides against Florida A&M.
Free play.
Let it go. They may get something out of it, and it may be good. I think they did. They're going to call this reception good by Rashad Coleman, or did they?
They're communicating right there.
We have 2 officials.
Yeah,
there's a flag down there. 2 officials are communicating. Let's see what they come up with. Well, we know we have a flag for offsides. Now let's see if they call the pass good.
And that's where the defense normally relaxes. If they know it's a penalty against them, you're taught offensively, keep going.
Chuck Williams, our referee, is going to sort it all out.
Clearly, Tyrone McGriff trying to get there early. Well, he has 1 foot in. You have to have 1 foot in, but it looks like that left foot is out. However,
so it'll be 2nd down and 1.
So you end up taking a penalty, and it still works out.
Right.
Nice concentration by Rashad Coleman catching the ball just too far over to the sideline.
So the ball will be spotted right at the 41-yard line. Now I think there's a question of maybe the clock, or let's see. Side judge up talking to the referee, Chuck Williams. Our side judge is James Mitchell. Charlie Neal along with Charles Arbuckle. We're at Florida A&M on their campus, Bragg Stadium. Good crowd on hand for this season opener. 2 MEAC foes. Delaware State, one of the original members of the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference. And there's the scoring. 21 points for Del State in the first quarter. Well, it's not 120 points for Florida A&M. Oh, this was last year. I'm sorry. Yeah, okay, here we go. All right. And this is what's happening. It's been 10 times Delaware State has lost to Florida A&M in a while since they have beaten them. Coach said they had more speed this year, experience and depth, especially on the defense. But he felt also they weren't where he wanted them to be at this juncture. Pass on the near side, and it's complete for 1st down to Dennis Savage, number 85 out of Surrey, Virginia. And Surrey County High was a reserve a year ago with 23 catches.
See, good protection by the line. It's allowing Witten to get comfortable. The feet aren't as happy as they were, and he's hitting his receivers in stride. And he's also looking people off. So he's getting back there, finding out where I can find receivers. 2 vertical routes. Instead of going to the inside route, he goes to the outside route. And they pick up a nice 1st down.
And that was on a 2nd and 1 play. So it was a good time to run a play like that on short yardage. And it's 1st and 10 now. The ball at the 22. Here's Witten on the option to the right side. Cuts it back inside, gets to the 20. A gain of 2 yards on the play on the option to the right side.
Yeah, that's a 2-yard play, but it's actually a 7-yard play because it should be a tackle for loss or a turnover because Florida A&M read their keys. Witten just did a good job of faking.
He sure did.
Turn back up.
Cut right inside the defenders who went for the fake. They were going to get the pitch man regardless of what happened. The pitch man was mine.
He was covered.
he was dead beat, right? 2nd down and 8. Roy down to the 11-yard line. On a 2nd down play.
Charlie, I don't know if you feel it, but the crowd is not as enthusiastic, and the defense isn't flying around like they were. You know, I get a sense that now that, you know, they're up by 3, but even the crowd isn't cheering and into the game as much as they were just a little while ago. I mean, just earlier in this 3rd quarter when the momentum seemed to be shifting. Delaware State is methodically marching down the field with a very nice drive they're putting together here.
The clock remaining. The time in the third quarter could be the last play of the third quarter. Play action and hit from behind. His arm, I thought, was going forward, but the referee is allowing it to be returned. And this may go for, no, it's not. But guess who? McGriff, and knocked out of bounds by Roy. And we got a couple players shaken up for Delaware State. But I thought his arm may have been going forward. But no replay again.
O'Brien Brandy came free and just really was able to get in there. I mean, I talked about needing a play to make a change. Everybody goes inside. There's no one to account for O'Brien Brady. They come with the right blitz at the right time, and then Tyrone McGriff always been heads up. But you know who makes a great play? Rodney Roy. He takes the angle that he's supposed to and runs all the way back. See, everyone's accounted for on that side except for one man. Quarterback has to beat him, doesn't know he's there, and then that allows Tyrone McGriff to return that fumble.
So from the Delaware State 49, they have good field position. Throw back to the far side and almost fumble, but finally grabbed and still going, and down the sideline is Paul Sharp, the cousin of Shannon and Sterling. He takes it in good field position all the way down to the 20. Gain of 29.
Sometimes you need a play or something to turn you around. And I tell you, the crowd now, the fans, everybody is really getting into it.
Into the third quarter. 3-point ball game. We'll be back. As we start the fourth and final quarter here in Tallahassee, 3-point ball game. The Rattlers threatening. Here's Owens throwing to the end zone. Intercepted in the end zone. Intended for Kaiser, but coming up with it for the Hornets of Delaware State is Blake Sanders, the senior out of Wilmington, Delaware. So he stops the onslaught.
That's been a good little matchup. Two smaller guys, both 5'9", with great leaping ability and great speed. They've just gone at each other all game. I mean, this time Saunders won the battle, but you know, he went after. He looked like he was a receiver. It looked like he was the one that was the receiver, and Roosevelt Kaiser was not the receiver on that play. Chris Owens puts it up, doesn't put it up far enough back where if he doesn't catch it, it goes out of bounds. And Blake Saunders just goes and gets the ball. He goes at the highest point and pulls it out of the air.
And that's what you're supposed to do as a defensive back. In all likelihood, that would be the 5th turnover for Florida A&M, because I even consider that block punt that went out of the end zone for safety somewhat of a turnover.
Yeah, it is.
Now we get a whistle. You know, we were talking a little bit earlier about the Delaware State and the 1AA players coming to 1A players coming to 1AA, and how it could be positive and can be negative. Depends on the reasons people leave.
And what is on their agenda when they get to wherever you are. If they come to you and they say, I want to do it how I did it at Mississippi State or wherever I've come from, whatever school it is, then you have problems here. If they don't gel and mix with the guys that are here and understand that it's another program and you have to blend into that program.
Winton looking, and he has it complete. On his way is McBride. McBride to the 41-yard line. 21-yard gain for Shahir McBride. Preseason first-team all-conference selection, rookie of the year a year ago.
Yeah, hadn't played a whole lot of football either. Saw him walking around campus. Al Levant said, you know, this guy looks pretty good.
Yeah,
looks like
6'3", 190, you know.
Hanging out on the yard, just cooling, you know, thinking about it. And he said, this guy looks like he's an athlete. Comes out, now he's rookie of the year in the MEAC last year.
Let's hope we don't have the sophomore jinx. Here's a pass again inside. This time, he goes to Savage. Dennis Savage. Let's go to the studio. Mike Hall. First down and 10. Roy off the right side, and Roy down inside the 45 to about the 42-yard line. Under 14 minutes to go. And just looked like when Florida A&M was going to extend their 3-point advantage, Delaware State comes up with a big defensive play.
Darius Fountain is hitting himself in there. He's really kicking himself because they had a chance to make a tackle in the backfield. But Rodney Roy stayed so tight to the line of scrimmage, and Fountain could only get a hand on him. And you can't tackle Rodney Roy with just a hand.
Gain of 6 on that play. It'll be 2nd down and 4. Winton the hands of Keith Williams for the Rattlers. So the 4th turnover for Delaware State.
You know, a lot of youth, and you can see that in the quarterback position, throwing balls up for grabs, so to speak. You know, if Keith Williams is playing back that far, you have to throw the ball on a rope. And he pump fakes it, and Keith Williams never bought the pump fake. I mean, he never went after the pump fake. He went to the spot where he knew the ball was going to be thrown. That's good of reading your keys by the defensive back and not being fooled, but also a bad decision by Vashawn Winton of throwing that ball up there when you're driving and have a chance to get back into this ball game and put points on the board.
Keeping the ball on the ground again. Pompey running with reckless abandon. You know, it's so interesting about Rashard Pompey is the fact that he had 5 100-yard games in his career. He had 4 last year. He only had 1, and that was 110 yards against Nicholls State. And we're in Tallahassee at Bragg Memorial Stadium for this MEAC matchup between Del State and Florida A&M. Charlie Neal along with Charles Arbuckle here. 5 100-yard games in his career. And he's running again. He runs hard. He's down to the 19-yard line. You know what's so, well, let's go to the Studio Notre Dame update.
That's right, Charlie. Notre Dame and Pitt, and I don't know if you can call this a shocker, Steve, but it's pretty surprising. Notre Dame is rolling. This is Rashawn Powers-Neal again.
You know, Charlie Weiss is working his magic.
35-13. The Golden Domers are rolling at the half.
All right. Well, let's see what happens. New coach, new era there. As it is here in Tallahassee. Reuben Carter, the man of the hour. Chris Owens, the quarterback, calling the signals. And here's the handoff to Pompey. First down at the 29.
Charlie, I wonder how much conditioning is going to play into this. Because Reuben Carter, his background as a coach, but also strength and conditioning guy.
Yes.
Talked about body mechanics and being better conditioned late in the game, and maybe they lose early on in the first half. But it looks like
especially in heat.
Yeah. And he said he wanted it to be as hot and humid as possible.
He wanted it to be 110 degrees, not 88 degrees. That's the way Florida people are. They love it. The hotter it is, the better they like it. Up across the 30 to the 32, 33-yard line.
You know, growing up in this area, you're used to, I grew up in Texas, so there's still some of the similarity. We're going to see Pompey getting his groove on in this heat, having the ability to get outside. We talk about in that heat and that wearing defenses down. He pounds you. He comes after you with that running style. He doesn't waste time. He doesn't fake and shoot. He gets to the hole. Right. You can see he makes a decision, and when he makes a decision,
he's gone.
Right.
Yeah. 540 yards and 6 touchdowns a year ago. Play action this time. Intercepted. Right in the hands of Jamel Trott. And the referee is down. We got an official who's hurt. Right at the 40, 35-yard line.
It took Chris Owens way too long to throw that ball. And the umpire, he's always in the line of fire down there because he's in the mosh pit, so to speak. And, you know, you hate to see officials go down. Jamel Trott read that perfectly, but he shouldn't have had the interception. Chris Owens had Taj Daniels working across the. You're going to see Taj Daniels, 82. If you stop it right there, he has him right there. If he throws the ball 2 seconds earlier, and he was looking at him, so Jamel Trott sees that, and he just waits. He just comes underneath and says, I know you're not going anywhere else. You're coming right to me.
Well, you see the umpire, how he gets hit right here at the end of this play. But he's staying in the game. He's getting up. He's a trooper. And that is Edgar Dean, part of this crew.
And look where they line up. They are always there. They have to line up and kind of just see right behind the defensive lineman. So they're like linebackers. That's why they're normally big guys, and they can move around as well.
And in the backfield, nothing doing for Delaware State, as the Rattler defense was all over that one. And the quarterback, Winton.
See, that's where it hurts the umpire, though, when it's a sudden change like that, because he's still caught in the position of looking forward. And look, 8 turnovers
in this ball game. Actually, I say 10.
Yeah, you might as well.
Because I had 4 for Delaware State, actually. I have a fumble in the second quarter, an interception, a fumble and an interception, as they keep it on the ground this time, again with Roy on the carry.
And the safety that turns into a kick ball out of the end zone basically is a turnover as well, because you get the ball back on a free kick right after that.
Certainly do. 10 minutes to go in this one. We're in the fourth quarter. It's been back and forth, and then Delaware State is in field goal range. They can tie it up right now with a field goal at the 30. They've been kicking the field goals good. Here's Roy. Roy is inside, cuts it back. He's at the 10. He's at the 5. And he's cut down at the 3-yard line by number 6, and that is Keith Williams.
You can't say neither one of these teams is physical, because there's some nice hits out here, some pops. And Keith Williams loses his helmet, but it doesn't really matter to him. He probably doesn't even need the helmet.
Yeah.
The way he hits, you know, Rodney Roy is running free. Once again, both running backs now have gotten to the point where they're establishing that they can run and get stronger as the game goes on. But that's a nice play by a cornerback. Watch this hit. He's going to come out of your screen. And see, Rodney Roy can't see him.
Yeah, he didn't see him.
He doesn't see him.
Yeah.
Peels back on him and pop. Gets
Roy. Football! Delaware State, I think, got it right at the 2-yard line. One of the linemen right there on the play, and was had the presence of mind to get on the football to avoid a possible disastrous situation. Actually, it was the receiver.
O'Brien Brandy is the one that comes in and knocks the ball out. And
I think it was McBride who recovered it.
Hands up play. Hands up play.
Yeah, somebody in there recovered it anyway. It is 2nd down and goal. Again, Roy following his blockers. He does. They signal touchdown. Finally, the head linesman comes in and he signals touchdown as Roy takes it in for 6. So the first touchdown of the night for the Hornets of Delaware State.
Well, and it wasn't a touchdown by much either. That was a hard-earned 6 points for Rodney Roy. First the hit by Keith Williams, and then the play after that when O'Brien Brandy comes over and knocks it out, and then finally he gets in, but he's worn out on that drive.
And for the point after, Peter Gartner, 8:42 remaining. The kick is up, and it is good. And Delaware State regains the lead, 21-17. So that safety was going to look very, very big if this whole score holds up. Let's look at the touchdown again. Not by much. And Delaware State up by 4. Charles Arbuckle in the fourth quarter here in Tallahassee. It's Florida A&M football. A great contingency of Delaware State fans have made their way south to Tallahassee for this one. Their team up by 4 right now, 21-17 with 8:42. But the Rattlers of Florida A&M, they said, hey, we can do this too. Their fans are into it.
Yeah.
The band is rocking in the stands. Gartner with the kickoff. Fielded at the 2-yard line by Kaiser. Kaiser trying to get down the sideline and bumped out of bounds right at about the 22. Let's go to the studio. Mike Hall. All right, thank you very much, Mike. Chris Owens didn't start this ball game. Albert Chester did, but after 1 quarter, a couple mistakes, Reuben Carter wasn't hesitant to make the change and put the lefty in there, and he's been a man of record right now. And this one is in and out of the hands of Roosevelt Kaiser on the far sideline. A little high, and Kaiser, I think, tried to run before he caught the ball.
Yeah, he was thinking of what he was going to do. What move am I going to make as soon as I catch this football, instead of catching it, putting it away, and then making the move.
Last time Delaware State beat Florida A&M was 1993. They won that game by 4 points, 18-14. In fact, Bill Collick was the coach of record back then at Delaware State. He won 3 games from Florida A&M. 89, 92, and 93 right now. On the ground again. The ground game has been very good for the Rattlers of Florida A&M, especially that young man, Pompey, who before that rush had 135 yards on the night.
And it's been hard-earned yards because this Delaware State defense, he's gotten a couple of big runs. But any of those other runs, if you take away some of the big ones, his yard per carry is not very good because he's really had to pound it in there. 149
yards is his career high. He did that in 2002 when he had a 650-yard year, and he did that against Morgan State, 149. He has 136 right now. This pass down the sideline is caught inside the midfield stripe. And on the reception for the Rattlers is Willie Haywood. 2 games a year ago, only 2 catches. Came up with a big one that time.
And Richard Kuntz, you won't see it, but he's watch 72 if you get a chance. He's going to just annihilate that end. And then that just provides time. And it doesn't work in the big, you don't think it works in the big scheme of things, but that allows, look, all the time in the world, he's able to get back to that step, boom, and throw it on his 5th step in a perfect timing world and get it to the receiver in stride.
And Willie Haywood, sophomore out of Jackson High in Miami, made it good. Good for 29 yards. This is a throwaway pass. A little pressure coming on the quarterback defensively from Kenny Kern, one of those transfer kids out of Mississippi State who's also graduated. He graduated from Mississippi State this past year, matriculated to Delaware State because he had another year of eligibility. Him and Sylvester Croom didn't get along down there. He said, you may as well end your career somewhere else, son, because it's not going to be here, even though he started 6 games for Mississippi State a year ago.
And he's here now getting an opportunity to play at Delaware State.
2nd down. Here's a pass out in the corner, and it's caught. Kaiser, and he beat badly Rubottom, Dion Rubottom, one of the good ones for Del State.
He really is. I like the fact that they went back to him. Now there is a flag on the play, and where it's dropped in the vicinity, it looks like it's going to be holding.
They may bring this back. It is. Chuck Williams, bearer of bad news for Florida A&M.
You know, that was a nice play. Because it just works in timing. You can see the hold in your screen on the backside of Chris Owen.
That was a great catch.
It was. And earlier, after Roosevelt Kaiser went out and missed that pass, he came back to the huddle and slapped his chest. My bad.
Yeah, it's my bad. You know, hey, come on back to me. Don't give up on me now. You know.
Yeah, I like that though.
Right. 60 catches a year ago. You know. I'm allowed to drop 1 every now and then.
1 every 5 is 1 forever.
Boy, that was a miss center. Did you see what the center did?
Yes.
He pumped the ball. Center with the pump fake. False start. So we have 2 penalties back to back against Florida A&M. That is their 12th penalty of the ball game. And this is not something you want to be proud of, getting a lot of penalties. Charlie Neal along with Charles Arbuckle here in Tallahassee. This is college football prime time, a MEAC matchup between Delaware State and the Rattlers of Florida A&M, and it's a 4-point ball game, 21-17. We're under 7 minutes to go here in the 4th quarter, 6:52 to be exact. And the Rattlers of Florida A&M facing 2nd and a lot of real estate. 2nd and 20. And the quarterback is brought down in the backfield. And a sack. And guess who? We hadn't seen Sam Smith in a while, but he's still in the ball game. Don't forget, immediately following this game at 10:30, we'll take you down I-10 a little bit. UTEP against New Mexico State. That's at 10:30 Eastern. 6:18 remaining in this one. The Aggies against the Miners coming up next here on the U.
It's all about adjustments. And what you're seeing now, Delaware State knows Chris Owens, a left-handed quarterback. We're going to put Sam Smith. He has the freedom to make that call, so he's coming against the right tackle, who is the blindside protector, and he can't protect Chris Owens when Sam Smith is there.
3rd and 30. And here we go down the next sideline. That was a push off on the offensive player, I thought. But they're going to call it on the defender, I believe. Didn't you think it was an offensive
Willie
interference?
Hayward pushed off.
Yeah.
He really did. At 6'4", 190 out of Miami, Florida. It looked like Michael Irvin there for a minute. Using those hands to extend.
Well, let's see. Well, that's. I don't think that was a good call.
That was a bad call.
Yeah, I thought it was the offensive interference, if anything. Let's look at it.
You know, that's the one penalty in college football that they're starting to call the wrong way. I mean, if you call it as incidental contact, if you don't call it against the offensive player, but clearly he pushed off, Willie Hayward did, and got away with one.
Yeah, he did.
And it gets a first down. That's the other.
Yeah.
That's the other harmful thing. It was a long play.
And look at the penalties. Florida A&M's been penalized 12 times, 6 for the Hornets of Delaware State. And that was the field judge who called that one, Art Williams. Here's another running back in the lineup, I believe, for the Rattlers of Florida A&M.
One more point.
That's Pompey again.
Yeah. Pompey, he's not flashy, but
takes
he's got
a
more
licking and keeps on ticking. Huh?
He got more speed than you want to really give him credit for, too.
Yeah.
You know, looking at the field judge where he makes that call, the line judge normally lines up in a better spot to see it, but both guys really don't have a good look. But still, that was not a penalty on the defense.
Nowhere to go for the quarterback. They were all over him. It's like a bad suit, huh? they came quickly. He didn't have a chance to do anything.
Was it a polyester suit?
It might have been tonight. That was Gerard Wallace who was leading the charge.
You know, that was a bad. They had a penalty called against them, and now it's a jailbreak. There are 4 defenders for 1 quarterback. The quarterback's going to lose that battle every time.
3rd and 13. 4:35 to go. The Rattlers trailing by 4. Oh, wide open! Overthrown! Wide open was Kaiser, and they overthrew him.
Well,
boy, you can't get any more open than that.
He wanted to have, if he had another second or more. Jamil Jones is in his face, and Owens wants to hold the ball as long as he can, but if he doesn't, it's a sack. Jamil Jones, one of those big guys inside. Defensive tackle comes free. If Chris Owens had a little more time, that's a completion in 6 points.
6 points without a question. You know, I mean, that's a 57, 58-yard touchdown pass.
And it comes in the area of Garth McIntosh, who went out of the game earlier, and we haven't seen him back.
They took him into the locker room. Haven't gotten any word on him. But they put this one away. And right away, Drew Bottom is down. Nowhere to run for him. Timeout on the field. 4:14 remaining. Delaware State will have the ball when we come back. 1st down and 10. Our score. Time remaining. 4:14. You look at the scoring by quarters. Actually, the score is 21-17. Mix up in the backfield. Let's see if the ball came loose. And Florida A&M is saying they got the ball. Let's see. It may be. No signal from the referee as of yet. Nope. They're saying that Delaware State got possession. I'll tell you, you don't want to turn it over this deep in your own territory. They started at the 7. They lost it back to the inside the 5. So they lost about 3 yards on that play.
Well, and right now you don't have your playbook shrinks.
Yeah, it does.
You lose all of your playbook the further you go, the closer you get back to the end line, the goal line.
Right, and Winton in the passing department is 12 of 21, 119 yards to 6 different receivers, but he's also thrown 2 interceptions.
Yes. A lot of turnovers tonight.
Lloyd real deep in the end zone. Brum is the up back, the fullback in the eye. Here's Roy trying to get some of that yardage back, and he gets it across the 5 to about the 6-yard line. Roy on the carry.
It's about 3 things you can do down here. Run right, run left, and run up the middle.
Yeah, don't do the 4th one because it may be disastrous, right?
Your playbook shrink. It's already shrunk with a young guy like Winton, and it really gets deduced or deducted when you get this close inside.
And it's 3rd and 11. So it's 3rd and long. So the safe thing is what? Draw play, keep it on the ground, maybe even give it to the fullback, Blum, who's the up back in the eye. He hasn't carried at all this evening. But they're going to give it to the second back, and that is Roy. And Roy gets a little breathing room, gets it out to the 9-yard line, but it'll bring up an obvious punting situation on a 4th down with 2:48 to go in the contest. And what Delaware State has got to be hoping for, as Florida A&M uses a timeout, is they get a good punt away, and then they play good defense.
Yes, because they don't want to give up what FAMU did earlier, a blocked punt right here, which is what Florida A&M wants to do. They want to block the punt now.
You see Reuben Carter there. You know, we were talking about the coaching situation. There were 5 coaches who were held over from the regime. Reuben only got a chance to bring in 2 coaches to add to the staff when he got the job back in July. That was the running back coach, Renato Diaz, and Kevin Thompson, the offensive line coach. The other coaches were kind of uncertain as, you know, are we going to be retained? And a week before they named Reuben Carter the head coach, they gave them all 1-year contracts. So they felt a lot better because they'd gotten rid of Billy Joe, who had been here 11 years and actually had only 1 losing season. So, and he is suing the university for wrongful termination.
Yeah.
So,
and when you look at Reuben Carter, one of the things we talked about, and I've seen more and more defensive-minded coaches that really start to understand how an offense could do and be effective. And he said the first thing, strength of his team, receiver.
right.
He said, I want to get the ball in their hands. It may not come right away, but eventually our receivers are going to be very good because we're going to get the quarterback to make sure they get it to him.
Here's Contos averaging over 46 yards per punt so far this evening. This is the biggest punt of the night. Kicking to Kaiser. Good snap. And he gets off a good kick. Kaiser, and he steps out of bounds at the 43-yard line. So it turned out to be a pretty good punt.
That was a very good punt because he's able to angle it to the side and not allow Kaiser to do anything with it.
2:41 remaining in the contest. 4-point ball game. Timeout. FAMU with the ball when we return. Coverage of Saturday night college football prime time between Delaware State and Florida A&M. Due to time constraints, we move along in our action. So the first game of his college career for Reuben Carter, 1:26 away from going into the loss column possibly. Welcome you back to Tallahassee. 4th and 19. Letting it go. And it's caught for first down inside the 45-yard line. To the 44. Big catch. That time for Aubrey Parrish out of Palm Beach, Florida, Royal Palm High, number 17.
And he's that other deep threat that they want to go to and utilize more like Kaiser down the field. This is a route catching the ball with a defender draped over his back.
That was a big 4th down play. They went for it on 4th and 19. Got what they needed. Pass again. And it's caught. This time on the run is Ron Wright. We've been talking about him. Another first down. They're going to make this one interesting with 55 seconds to go. The clock stops. And Florida A&M spends a timeout. Their second.
New center Geitska Crowley, who's been in the second half ever since, and that ball was tipped.
It certainly was.
But good concentration by Ronald Wright. Those are the hardest balls to catch.
Kenny Kern tipped it.
When guys come over, Kenny Kern gets that left hand up, you have to still concentrate. You're running away from the quarterback. You're hoping that the ball is going to go to where you think it's going to go, even if it's tipped.
Now remember, a field goal does the Rattlers no good. They have to get a touchdown. They trail by 4. This goes back to the safety. Yes. Earlier in the contest. The well, not a bad snap, but the block punt. And again, wisely, Taylor, the kicker, kicks it out of the end zone in order to create the safety. So that's the 2-point ball game right there. Now, had they not gotten the safety, they could kick the field goal, win the ball game. But now they have to get it into the end zone. They have to get 6.
The snap was off just a little bit. And it was just enough to draw him away from where he needed to be and put him in line with the block punt situation.
Chris Owens running the offense for Reuben Carter. 1st and 10. Back to pass. Letting it go into the end zone. Incomplete. Willie Hayward looking around, trying to find some flags. And there's the guy you were talking about earlier, Blake Saunders, down there defending.
That was a senior move by Blake Saunders.
Yeah, just stand there.
No.
Make him run over me.
And think another thing. He's 5'9". He knows that Willie Hayward is 6'4". He puts his hand on him just a little bit, makes him think he's going to jump. And when Hayward decided to go try to jump, he moved away from him.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
That is the young man, Al Chester, who started the game. And, of course, the quarterback who's in there now, Chris Owens, got most of the reps in the camp.
Yeah, and when you get most of the reps in the camp, that's going to parlay you into playing. But they weren't happy immediately with Albert. Wasn't able to get anything going. Chris Owens comes in the game. It's been sporadic. He's made some good throws, but he's not had some time in some situations.
Well, we want to apologize for our technical difficulties we've had. Here's another pass in the corner. And it's caught. No, incomplete. In and out. Blake Saunders on Hayward. Hayward had it in the basket, but let it go. And that was a 3rd down and 20 situation. And now we're facing 4th and 20.
Well, once again, Owens has time. No pressure. But Hayward, once again.
He had it.
No, Blake Saunders comes in at the right time. Watch that left hand. Puts the right hand there, and then as soon as he goes up, he gets the ball out.
Knocks it out.
That was a great play by Blake Saunders.
Again, 30 seconds and 20. They have to get inside the 20 to about the 16 to get a 1st down. Here's a pass. Incomplete. The ball will go over to the Hornets of Delaware State. 22.8 seconds to go. And it was close. Player a little injured. 2 players down. A little slow getting up. On the defensive side, Jamel Trott, who had a big play earlier with a turnover for the Hornets of Delaware State.
And that's Terrell Baldwin, another offensive lineman, the guard, who's down.
Well, they can't ill afford to lose a lot of offensive players. And this one came right down to the wire. A good one here in Tallahassee. Season opener for both of these squads. Delaware State a year ago started the season 0-4 and then came up with a big win over the Hampton University Pirates, who were ranked 17th in the nation at the time that they beat the Hampton Pirates 26-23. They lost the following week to Bethune. Then they beat the Aggies of North Carolina A&T, who were the defending MEAC champs, before losing to Morgan, South Carolina State. Then they closed out their season with wins over Norfolk and Howard. And for Al Levan, this has got to be a great ride home on the plane after winning down in Tallahassee. Well, it's a team they haven't beaten the last 10 times they played.
It's a big win for them again. I mean, they keep finding ways to find big wins and capitalize on the success that they had last year at Delaware State, that is.
Florida A&M has no timeouts remaining, so Delaware State will just take a knee and let the clock run out. They do not have to run another play here in Tallahassee. So Reuben Carter, the era is here. It was a good fight. Mistakes hurt them early. A bunch of turnovers, 5 turnovers plus a block punt that resulted in a safety. Gives Delaware State and Al Levan, who's a happy man right there, gives him the victory.
Legendary Beale Street, where everyone comes to Memphis, Tennessee to have a good time. But tonight they'll be at the Liberty Bowl for the 16th annual Southern Heritage Classic between Tennessee State's Tigers and Jackson State's Tigers, both coming in at 0-1.